Greetings, fellow Gothamites. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Rohith Dar.
And we're back talking Batman, Crusader, Season 2. Been a long wait, but it's finally over. It was competing with Spider-Man. So with Crusader, I always loved the idea of revisiting the Bruce Timm style with, the period noir setting and, it very much kind of what enamored me about it was kind of like we saw like the for Batman's 75th anniversary we had some shorts and Bruce Timm and because Bruce Timm and Darwin Cook as well they did kind of these shorts, one was Batman Beyond, one basically Batman kind of more kind of 1939 Batman. The animation, the black and white Batman short Strange Days was a little more kind of, he's kind of a somewhat of a prototype for this, somewhat. Not exactly the same thing. It was kind of like a taste of what that kind of thing might look like.
Proof of concept.
Yeah, proof of concept. So, to me, this show always seemed like Batman the Animated Series with the advent of streaming, but very clearly, the lack of Paul Dini kind of showed. We have other talented people working on this, but, here's the thing. I rewatched Season 1, and I got to admit, it did not hold up as well as I hoped. I had like an issue or two with it in the very first pass, but it wasn't anything really kind of took the enjoyment away. I'm rewatching. It's like I still like what I like about that show, but just cohesive. I don't think the writing was as cohesive when I got ready for Season 2, and ultimately some of the reinventions felt like reinventions just to differ from Batman the Animated Series versus kind of I think what I really wanted, which was like kind of Batman, or even if we've seen something Batman answers, let's see it in kind of a the contemporary setting for the time period. Let's see it kind of like the late 30s, early 40s version of these characters of what that would be, versus let's just change things so we don't get compared to the far better of the shows. But that's kind of how I felt about Season 1. So Season 2, I kind of went into it kind of with that fresh in my mind, and Season 2 I thought was an improvement. I think we trimmed it to the essentials in terms of the storytelling, which I think was a good move. We really hit on the pulp and noir setting in certain episodes, and it's kind of the overall vibe, which I really liked. Which is, again, it's kind of what I'm there for in the first place with this. We build up to the Joker in a fantastic way, and I was wondering going into the season, how exactly we were going to do it. And I really liked how they went about it. No idea if Season 3 is in the cards for this, given the shifting tides of Warner Brothers and their relationship with Batman, and kind of in this case Amazon just kind of like housing it for the time being. Who knows what's going to happen when? I don't know. The state of DC animation right now is, at least the shows that have been kind of going on before, even honestly, just overall, the state of DC animation is kind of in flux, and no one knows anything right now. We don't know what's getting approved. It would stand the reason if the shows are good, they're gonna get the green light, but who knows? All we know is Mr. Miracle's coming. That's pretty much all we know. Anyway, but yeah, if it does not come back for Season 3, I think we ended pretty strongly, though. I think it's it's a pretty solid ending. But so overall, I like Crusader, and I still I think Season 2 turned out pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, so I distinctly recall when we discussed the first season on the Spoilercast that I felt that the setting itself and really emphasizing the noir and pulp elements of Batman, I think limited the show's capacity to really be creative. I think the Two-Face arc of that show was very much derivative of other better versions or adaptations of the Two-Face story. And like outside for Harley Quinn, like all the other innovations or touch-ups on certain Batman villains didn't really amount to much, maybe except the Firebug character. And I think in certain aspects, like the show was the best part. Season 1 was when it was able to embrace the more fantastical elements of the show. The Nocturna episode, the Natalie Knight episode was definitely a good example of it. I think Batman's character progress in some human direction. I think season 2, there's not a really a regression. I think there's just kind of like very baby steps, and I think
Yeah.
I kind of understand for this Batman, like his humanity comes in just slights, and he's not, and because of the fact that he doesn't really have like a Robin or as warm of a relationship with Gordon, his humanity doesn't really give us a chance to really blossom and develop. But there is some level of progression. We get our one Alfred season.
I can't stand that. I really can't.
I mean, for what this version of Batman is, initially it's like, well, I kind of wish there was a progression relationship,
That's
but
the thing. I mean, we set it up so great in season 1, and then from that point forward, it should just be Alfred. We should have abolished the Pennyworth at that point, but no, it's one per season. That's dumb.
I think for what this, because this Batman is more in line with the Shadow than traditional Batman.
Yeah.
And I think with how, like, I don't know about you, Dragon, I feel like Hamish Linklater's performance, there's certain times where it's like, it's a little rough, but certain moments, especially in this season, like where he really gives his all, especially as Batman and Bruce Wayne. I kind of wish there was more of opportunities for him to really show the duality of his like vocal cadence, as we saw in the first season. But I think over the course, especially when we're getting near the season, I think he puts in his like best work for the character, especially when he's going up against the Joker. I think this season is very much an improvement. I think the team really kind of let Batman breathe outside the artificial constraints, and I think the show benefits from that. If the show ends at this season, I think it's a good ending point for the character, because in my mind, I can imagine that post, like, I think with the Joker and how things kind of erupt in the city, I can kind of mentally see that, hey, this Batman can become sort of more of a traditional Batman within this milieu. After sort of the introduction of the Joker, it's a tight title change or whatever. But if there's subsequent seasons and that confirms or maybe complicates my assumption, we'll address that when we get to that point. I think for what it is, I think the season is especially marked improvement. I think certain episodes that seem not only the best of the season, but the best of the show overall. We'll get to that when we discuss sort of the standout episodes.
There is a big problem with this season, but we'll get to it. It's kind of at the halfway point, but maybe a little over the halfway point. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So without further ado, folks, we're gonna kind of talk about the greatest hits and the highlights of all 10 episodes here. So we're going to try not to dwell on it too much as get to the kind of the good stuff. So bear with us. We'll see how successful we are with that. So we're going to start with episode numero uno, Root Force.
Mm-hmm.
So to put it simply, so Rupert Thorne's on trial. Which kind of is, we're getting justice for Harvey Dent right off the bat, which was, kind of the mission statement by the very end of the season. It's like, Harvey Dent, he died trying to put an end to, in an attempt trying to do something good, trying to root out the corruption of Gotham, and of course with the idea of Batman putting an end to organized crime, and of course in the wake of that, the freaks start taking over. It's a classic thing in Batman. We're kind of exploring that here. The very long Halloween-ish idea.
Yeah.
So here's something interesting. Here's a reinvention I really liked. Hattie Tetch. So Hattie Tetch, I like this reinvention of the Mad Hatter way better than what we did with the Penguin. I'm not just trying to come down the Penguins. I know a lot of people get really ticked off with the Penguin thing in season 1, but it just really is that this one really served the plot. It legitimized. It's basically like a legitimized version of Gossip Gertie in a sense. It's kind of like we have kind of a random kind of. We still have Summer Gleason, which, by the way, it still ticks me off to no end that we have Summer Gleason and we have Barbara Gordon. The fact that they dress identically, and that's why we can't put Barbara Gordon in like green, because we have Summer Gleason. We dress her exactly the same as Batman the Animated Series. It's.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track there. The point being, the way in which we approached her was like, we have kind of basically, it's kind of a fusion of Gossip Gertie and J. Jonah Jameson, or like Gossip Gertie via a J. Jonah Jameson-esque role in the world of Batman. And it's kind of like there are elements throughout this season of trying to legitimize the 60s Batman camp. And I really like that, and just kind of blending that into kind of the 40s aesthetic. So I think we got a lot of mileage out of Hattie Tetch, and it fit to like kind of the kind of the plot needs of the season before it was like something just kind of like random for the heck of it.
Well,
How can we? What's
that
a Mad Hatter we never saw before? Lady Mad Hatter. It's a lady will wear a hat. I buy that.
Well, I mean, I think that's the thing that's like it's not really a 40s, it's kind of more of a 50s
Yeah,
component, like with the whole because like television wasn't a thing till the 50s, and so I appreciate that it's not just strictly stuck to the 40s. Like
yeah,
it's in that vein, early to mid 20th century vibe, and so I appreciate like Hattie being kind of this gadfly. She's kind of like I think the best comparison for like maybe people of my age or closer would be like Rita Skeeter from Harry Potter. That kind of gossip, tabloid. Is basically someone who puts a lot of innuendo and implication into sort of the actions of others and just thrives on the ratings of it all. So I think I appreciate that there was sort of a media element to this season. I think it's Batman can sometimes there's always interesting stuff to do with Batman in terms of the media perception of him and how that aids and kind of represents a distortion of it. Like The Dark Knight Returns is a great example of that, and I think this season really utilized
yeah,
the incendiary aspect of the media towards Batman's crusade.
yeah. So Eddie Nigma, we established Eddie Nigma. He's running Rupert Thorne's operation on the outside while he's in prison, kind of like the number two man in the organization now. He's tasked with killing Calendar Man. Now, this was a great plot. I love the idea of Calendar Man basically being kind of like, for all intents and purposes, kind of the he's the accountant for Rupert Thorne's operation. So basically, just a great use of the idea that he would have all the dirt names, date, the eidetic memory with the names and faces and dates and all that kind of thing. So made a lot of.
I kind of wish he was a little visually like noteworthy. Because like if you just took out Calendar Man, like it's just a dude that like is good with numbers, and like I feel like even with the reinventions of characters, they still have some of that visual like Batman villain flair. I think it would be kind of cool to have that for Julian Day Calendar Man. Um, I think he just kind of like honestly he could have passed for like the show's version of like Sid the Squid or whatever.
Yeah,
Just
exactly. But I'm just saying though, if we're just going to do a kind of a footnote, we kill off a lot of characters in this season. So I don't know, it just
which
feels
I appreciate,
yeah,
because I think obviously because this is not like a traditional cartoon for children where you're expected to sell toys, you have to keep villains around for especially you want to do like big crossover. Like this is a show that if it's in the milieu of a noir show and a lot of stories in that milieu, a lot of people
they
die.
don't have happy endings.
No.
So yeah, there's like risk. Anyone could die, and with that in mind, it's like Calendar Man. He fits his story need. He has like the memorable nickname, but beyond that, you're right though. It's not. But then again, look at Calendar Man in Long Halloween. All he really has is the cell going on. Beyond that, it's
Well, he's
electric.
kind of has like a bald, like albino look to him.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying though. Beyond it's kind of a plain look against the calendar backdrop, and that's pretty much all you have with them.
Well, because like, or he could have had like maybe like the tattoos of the calendar, or like something to make him like feel a little more colorful, more fanciful, theatrical. But
fair.
that's neither here nor there.
Regardless, it was kind of a nice inclusion. So with Nigma himself, though, here's what I really liked about Nigma. Again, this is like the whole like kind of a legitimizing of kind of '60s camp that we did here. So it's like we have the Riddler. We give he has it's very much Frank Gorshin meets James Cagney. It's kind of the best way I could put it. Where when he takes the hat off, he has the hair and he kind of dresses a lot like the Frank Gorshin Riddler.
Yeah.
Basically when he was like between schemes, like he was hanging out with the mall and the henchmen, which we see here, and he looks, oh my god, and we even have the mall and everything. It's very '60s Batman in the aesthetic. We have we have his main hangout is Stumpers, so we're getting kind of the puns in there and kind of the gimmicky location. He's got kind of the Gorshiny laugh a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I like those elements there. However, he's not clever, but he is hot tempered, hence the riddling things with bullets.
I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of this version of the Riddler because it's like if you just like the whole he's riddling like places with bullets. It's like, come on, like you could if you're wanting someone who's like a bit more of like a James Cagney thug, like there's plenty of Batman villains, especially Batman mobster villains that could fill that role. I feel like the Riddler, he could have easily fit in as like a serial killer or mastermind or something that's like more, you know, um, in the milieu of what that character is, and just having him be a gangster, I feel like it's kind of like, oh,
I kind of wish he was clever and we didn't go with the riddling, uh, the riddling, pun. But I don't know. I mean, for what again, it's one of those things. It's kind of the curse of the show is there's a mandate. We don't want to just do the same version again, or necessarily just basically that version, but it happens to be in a.
honestly, if you want to do something different, like have him maybe be like a private detective who, like how it was the Dini's run on Detective Comics.
I
And
know, but again, no Dini though.
no, I mean, even then, like you still could have, it still would have fit in the world of it being so noir-esque, and Riddler being like a private detective who's like has a rivalry with Batman. That would have been an interesting angle to explore.
Yeah, it would have been interesting, and definitely would have taken him in a non-villain direction.
I mean, honestly, you could have had him maybe be hired by like Rupert Thorne or even GCPD to like find out Batman's identity or whatever. That would have been like noteworthy to do. Or even have a Joker. Like, and there's, I think just what's presented in the show is just not really interesting to me. He just like you could have had Black Mask or any other Batman like villain who's like mobster related.
I'm the same with what we were given with the Riddler. I think there were elements of it I liked, but I'm with you. It's not again. It's kind of something we're settled with. You kind of have to accept it just for the story to move on. But anyway, so Barbara, she's she ultimately gets Batman and Gordon to work together more, which I really like. Me, I live for the Batman Gordon kind of meeting scenes and the rooftop scenes. It's kind of there being an episode kind of drawing a point to, okay, look, you got to trust the commissioner a little bit more. Batman, you got to pull the bad exit on now and again. Otherwise, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
We set up that Bullock took the rap for shooting. Now, this was interesting. Bullock it seems like they're working on a Bullock redemption, which I really appreciated. Like slowly but surely, the idea that Bullock, he took the rap for shooting Dent. He got demoted to B cop. And there's definitely a lot of tension between him and Flash. But yeah, basically because of this, Montoya ends up babysitting Flash, which again is something definitely a right turn because traditionally we pair Montoya and Bullock up together, and that's kind of how we might redeem Bullock. But we're going a very different route with it, so it was an interesting choice. But I like how we're trying to we're humbling Bullock, and there's maybe a hint that maybe there's an episode later on we have that I think really goes a long way in terms of like softening Bullock, and I really appreciate it. Then again, few episodes after that, we have him biting people and drawing blood. So you be the judge there.
I don't know. I don't feel like Bullock is really set up to be redeemed. I feel like he's just kind of like an antagonist,
Well, I don't know. I mean, there was a moment. He had a really good moment that to me suggested that there might be room for redemption. We'll get to that moment, but I don't know. I think there was a hint of. It's not like a whole. I can't say they drew out like a career path for the man, like a whole a path of an apology tour for the man. But I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so Batman visits Rupert Thorne in Blackgate, which I really like. Of course, we see that Rupert Thorne's living it up in prison. By the way, like he's like throwing the ashtray. I love Cedric Yarborough. By the way, I really love that we have him as Rupert Thorne. I thought it was good casting on him, and I love like that conversation they have. And essentially, it's from this verse. It's kind of the last conversation they have in the show, where it's kind of this thing where we ended the last season with like him like throwing the batarang and like it nicked him on the ear and says, "Oh, don't worry about the nick. It healed up nice as if you never touched me." Good dialogue. I like that.
Yeah.
I think Batman very much is kind of like putting the screws to Rupert Thorne that he's very unhappy that Rupert Thorne's still doing stuff from the inside. Hugo Strange. This is something I really love in terms of our aesthetic and kind of early We're doing some Matt Wagner kind of early years of Batman kind of stuff here. So we have Hugo. Okay, maybe not. Sorry, I go to Matt Wagner because he did kind of an updated version of two of the classic Batman stories that we do both of this season. We do Mad Monk and we do Monster Men.
Yeah.
So, I always kind of go to Matt Wagner on that, but essentially these were very early Batman stories, and I love that we pulled from there. So, Hugo Strange appearing, and not only Hugo Strange appearing, and by the way, also in that Strange Days short, so very appropriate, got a lot of mileage out of them. We did the Monster Men, so a little bit kind of like for the kids out there, the Arkham games have the Titan monsters and a little bit of Hugo Strange influence, a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the idea he's a scientist who's working on a serum and ends up, kind of mutating people into kind of Hulk-like monsters. In this case, we tested on a Mark Desmond who becomes Blockbuster in the comics. There is a Blockbuster's name is Mark Desmond. This is kind of a neat little, like tying Blockbuster in with the Monster Men. I thought it was an inspired idea. I love that. For a moment, I thought it was going to be Grundy because he had the hat on and everything.
Yeah, yeah, like that's because they had like the preacher kind of look, or not,
Yeah.
but more like garb that you associate with the Solomon Grundy with the black, formal wear. Yeah.
Yeah, so for a moment I thought, then I realized the name was Desmond. Oh wait, that has to be Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Anyway, but still, regardless, neat idea. There's only room for one zombie this season, so we couldn't do Grundy. The Batmobile takedown, little nod to the Arkham games, but it was really awesome. Just like him beating the ever loving crap out of Blockbuster with the Batmobile.
It was very visceral. Like I appreciate that this Batman is willing. I don't know if at that moment like he was trying to kill him or
no, he was a monster. He knew he could take it though. He needed to make sure he didn't get back up. So I mean, at this point, ethically, it might have been that thing of like Batman fights Doomsday, can he kill Doomsday kind of thing. Obviously, you can't do it easily, but it's a hypothetically, if he were in the position to kill Doomsday, would he? Because is he sentient? When a guy turns into a monster, like, is that it for him, or is there a chance of him turning back? And I think it was like he didn't really, at that point, just assumed, I'm going to throw the Batmobile at him and see what happens because I don't know what the heck this guy is. I don't even know if he's a real guy.
So Batman is just like lucky that Desmond didn't die.
As far as he was concerned, he was a giant Solomon Grundy, zombie. As far as he knew. So you're right. I think he lucked out majorly here. If he were human, he would not have pulled this. But
Well, no, because if he turned back to human and died, they're like,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, so here's the thing. I love our running device with the Joker here, where he's like enacting his master plan in like stages and just inserting him in the episode. I will say this though, I really wish some of these episodes ended with that. Like this episode would have ended so perfectly if see Rupert Thorne, he gets acquitted because he bought the judge, despite getting counterman testify and everything, which basically was a nail in his coffin. Judge dismisses the case.
Yeah.
Citing the police corruption, which is hilarious, by the way. The fact that corruption is what's getting him out of it in more ways than one.
Yeah.
And the limo driver pats him on the back and like he sticks him with like almost a little Joy Buzzer-esque little pinprick.
Yeah.
And he's laughing at his victory, and it turns into a Joker Venom death laugh. So excellent reveal of the Joker. Very, of course, we see this in The Dark Knight when he's like disguised, with the flesh makeup as the cop, and Jack Nicholson Joker flesh makeup. This all pulls from Joker disguised as a cop and his initial scheme from Batman #1.
If I had a nickel for every time Rupert Thorne gets off in an animated show, I would have 2 nickels.
You would.
Yeah.
Just weird that happens.
Also, another Rupert Thorne thing. If I had a nickel for every time Batman surprises someone in the shower, I would have 2 nickels as well.
Yeah, yes. Well, we know that was Zack Snyder's favorite scene. He just wished it went the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, seriously, that Joker is like as the driver, and that we just killed Rupert Thorne episode 1. I was so impressed by that. When we go into the tunnel, I could really wish it ended there. I really do.
Yeah.
But yes, there's like just a lot of dread and build up to Joker as that through line for the season. So that was it was really good.
Yeah, it was like the show equivalent of like Invincible, when they have like a background plot that's like building up steam and then comes to a head at the end of the season, or like if in a comic there's like a backup story that then comes back into the main story in a big way.
Yeah, it's very much almost like Scott Snyder with his different Snyder kids. Scott Snyder with his the Black Mirror backup stories.
Yeah.
You're Joker adjacent.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that brings us to episode 2, Rocket's Red Glare. So, impressively, episode 1, Rupert Thorne, he's off the board. But only we, the audience, know it, which I really like. That we know it. Batman's playing catch up this whole season.
Yeah.
And impressively, the other thing that's really impressive about this episode, we found a way to redeem some of Batman the Animated Series' missteps in this episode in two ways. I guess New Batman Adventures and Batman the Animated Series, if you want to split hairs. But yeah, with both Roxy Rocket and the Terrible Trio. Okay, real quick, before we get into that, I want to mention my favorite dumb joke of the episode. I love the donut joke. So we start the episode off, and we have these guards at like the rocket lab, I believe. Basically, this guy brings.
Oh,
what I got, guys, donuts.
Yes.
And you have this one guy says, "Are they homemade?" And the other guy has this hilarious line says, "Well, they're donuts. Who makes donuts at home?"
Yeah, that was a good line.
Love them. It's just it felt like it was like a Ben Edlund line. I loved it. All right. So Roxy, basically, we have Roxy Rocket here as kind of a Rocketeer-inspired vigilante, more than a bad guy, trying to stop trying to stop Triad Industries' Ultrium research project.
Yeah.
So they found a way to make the Terrible Trio actually work, which rarely can happen because Batman Animated Series have really fumbled the ball with the Terrible Trio. It's one of I can count on one hand the bad episodes of Batman Animated Series or the disappointing episodes, and that is one of them. So we had Fox, Vulture, and Shark. I really like in the design of these characters, the businessmen designs. We kind of add like a little flair to suggest the thing that they are. Which again, these are the kind of touches that were lacking when we did them before. We just put dumb looking animal mask on them.
Mm-hmm.
We have one guy kind of like some Vulture features. Another guy was the Fox one. He kind of has like the mustache, and we have the guy with the shark mouth kind of built in between his beard and kind of his hairstyle, which is really neat.
I see.
And what do you think? I mean, you got any skin in the game with Terrible Trio or?
That was a part of Batman the Animated Series that I don't really remember seeing or
For the best.
Yeah.
Basically, there was like a very spare episode of the animated series. That and Prophecy of Doom, two of the really not good episodes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I always hate about that Terrible Trio episode is like the one time Bruce Wayne. I know it was for skeet shooting, but he's using a gun, and I just didn't like it. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, just again, it's a pretty simple, it's, Roxy is trying to, we learn about Dr. Sutton here, and, again, Roxy Rocket in the new Batman Adventures, she was, let's just say she was kind of, I don't want to say fetishy, but she had kind of a weird hang up that they really got into with Batman Animated Series, and just really kind of took away from like the whole like the stunt woman living on the edge of danger thing. It was kind of like I liked elements of it, but it was just it never really on the rewatch. It just still didn't. It's like a little much. But here, we Batman had sympathy for the ethical doctor trying to seek justice, and you felt bad that he couldn't get that for her, and that was good. Like it was a little heart to heart with her.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's our Batman. It's our the whole cornerstones of this Batman, like you were getting at the beginning. As a Batman, who's very much kind of divorced from his humanity, or is very much in denial of his humanity, separated from it. He's really compartmentalizing it. And this was actually the whole reason we do the Pennyworth Alfred thing that gives Alfred the cold shoulder all the time is this is actually pulled from Bruce Timm's original vision for Batman Animated Series, believe it or not. So in the original Batman Animated Series, and I've told Rohith this before, the original Batman Animated Series, like his whole thing was like he was a Batman who like barely even acknowledged Alfred. He was very like just like he is pretty much in the suit more often than not. It was all that kind of pretty much our building blocks for this Bruce Wayne and Batman was that, and we ended up finding a way to make it work. It was really charming on the first season when I watched it, and I liked that we're kind of bringing elements of that. here and there, and the fact that it just adds like kind of actual growth and development on him. When we get to see the compassion that we're used to, like the Kevin Conroy kind of compassion of Batman, just kind of shine through.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah, I think if you really look at this episode, Roxy, she's not trying to kill anyone at all, not even recklessly. She's like her rocket, her rocket gun basically propels people back. It doesn't kill them. It doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically she's just going for accountability. That's what she's going for. I think really made the episode interesting, especially on a rewatch. And she ends up sacrificing herself to kind of make sure her work doesn't fall to the hands of greedy businessmen who are like funding a war effort potentially.
Yeah. It was kind of like their like little homage to Iron Man, the show.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And the whole Sutton Labs thing at the end, I thought was a really nice little bit there. He dedicated like research, like he's keeping her life's work alive and naming it after her, which is kind of nice, but without just like using her life's work so it can fall into the wrong hands. It was nice, and we made it very deliberately. He's burning it and everything. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
So then our coda, and this is what I'm talking about, is what we should do with these codas. Joker like whistling, scary, a kind of Germanic tune while he's basically injected Hugo Strange with the Joker venom.
Yeah.
And he steals all the Monster Men serums, the blockbuster formula serums.
Yeah, no, this little build up of, especially this is a Joker who doesn't laugh or smile.
I love that. I cannot tell you how often I've toyed with the idea of what if we did like a very like a kind of a straight man comedian, but then when we're not doing the comedian angle here, but the idea of a Joker who, when he laughs, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, like he's just the gangster Joker that's like all serious, straight laced, and it's just kind of like how like Joker's kind of done in Absolute Batman or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's always. I mean, it's always interesting to go in that direction because, like, the Joker, he's not someone that's trying to cause chaos in a very theatrical way, but just his actions, there is sort of a dark, like, comedic value to it, but it's not just in your face about it. So
yeah, again, it's just great that it's like such a pull from the early Batman era, and so it's very authentic without being something that we're so ingrained with Mark Hamill's like into the DNA of what our checklist is for the Joker that we kind of forget that he did start off radically it was more of a striking visual of the clown versus like him acting like that.
Yeah.
All right. With that said, let's get to episode 3. This is a really good one. Deep cover.
This is one of my favorites.
I'm with you. I love this one. Tell them about it.
Yeah, so this episode, Mark Desmond, who is not in his big blockbuster form, he's holed up in prison, and he's very much not telling the cops anything. He's like, I'm not a rat. But in spite of all that, Riddler, in his paranoia, feels like, hey, there's a loose element, and you know how you deal with loose elements, you kill them off.
That's where the James Cagney thing. James Cagney's whole thing was like, "You dirty rat." So they're doubling down the whole rat thing.
Yeah, and so Riddler basically sends out a hit on Desmond, and then while that's going on, Batman has the idea to go undercover, hence the episode Decover, as Matches Malone.
One of my favorite Batman things through all of Batman me. I love it when he goes undercover as Matches Malone every time, and oh boy, I tell you. And they did it really good here.
It's interesting that it's all been done sort of in animation. Has it been done in a video game? Obviously, it's never done in the Arkham series, but I try to recall if it's kind of surprising that the Telltale Batman didn't do Matches Malone, because that just feels like something that would be in that milieu.
He went undercover there, but it was pretty much as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's I'd be very interested to see like a live action take on Matches Malone. It was funny. The Matches Malone is just like Bruce Wayne with the mustache and glasses. And funny enough, when you think about it, it's like Carmine Falcone is like an older looking version of Magus Malone when you think about it from the Batman. So that just kind of came to that head. But I like how Hamish Linklater's voice for Magus Malone. Like he's very much like an Italian, American wise guy kind of a deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yes, Matches Malone. We've seen him in the animated series. The new Batman Adventures did a. I always loved the tie-in comics for the animated series, and I believe it was. I think it was Gotham Adventures. Oh, sorry, they just called it Batman Adventures, like 17 issues. That was like the last one in the run. Anyway,
and then Batman Arkham Shadows. I just realized like that's where we see Matches Malone.
Yeah, but still, just in the tie-in, Dan Slott did did a run. I don't know if he wrote a lot of them. I don't think he wrote all of them. He wrote some of the Batman Adventures comics that were in like the new Batman. So it was really great. That one brought the Phantasm back briefly, and we had like Matches Malone going under him going uncover his Matches Malone in Black Mask, his operation. We did Black Mask in there.
Yeah,
it was really good. And there's always that thing. There's a lot of, as Jacob pointed out in the comments, Batman Breaking the Bowl, it's a great episode, which was a musical episode too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't get enough. I'm with you. As a bucket list thing, was there two things we still need to do with Batman we still have not really done yet in live action, at least not properly. We have not done Matches Malone.
Mm-hmm.
And well, here the Joker blogs did Matches Malone, but it doesn't really count. And much as I would like it to, but I also like that series to have an ending. So beggars can't be choosers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Bruce Wayne visiting his parents' grave, which the closest we've gotten, it was a dream, so it doesn't count. BVS. It's the only time he's ever visited the grave.
Wow, I'm just trying to think of it. Yeah, he didn't.
Here's the thing. I will tell you the two exact. Okay, it was a dream because the bat came out and tried and scared him.
Yeah.
The only other time the closest we've ever gotten, not counting Phantasm, of course, which obviously that would be the best in case in which we've done that, was theatrical, was Batman and Robin. And Batman and Robin, one of the like the two good scenes in that movie was Alfred's on his deathbed, and he's reminiscing with Bruce Wayne. We look out the window for a second, we see a little flashback to Alfred, young kid Bruce Wayne at the parents' grave. The only time we've ever done that.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, so it's not the older Bruce Wayne in the rain, at the parents' grave. We've never done that visual.
I mean, there was also Justice League Doom.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The animation, we do it all the time. I'm just saying, Phantom's like theatrical, so we've done it. It's just only an animation, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so we should probably mention. I forgot that we did not do this in the first season.
We didn't do that?
Oh, no, he's asking. Did we? Did the first season? Do you remember the first season?
I definitely did. They all have title cards because that's the thing from Batman the Animated Series, and then that's kind of the carryover. It's like, hey, this is Batman the Animated Series with mature elements, and having the title cards because it's all like noir action adventure series.
It felt like they popped more here. Like a part of me wonders if we did not. I mean, it makes sense that we would include the title cards, but some reason they kind of stuck a little bit more here. I don't know. Anyway, like Rohith was saying, great setup of we need insight to the Riddler and Rupert Thorne's operation. We got to find Rupert Thorne, basically get a meeting with him. So he befriends Blockbuster in Blackgate. Batman. Of course, I love it when we have Batman in prison stories. Not the way Zack Snyder wants to see them, but I like when we have Batman in prison stories. One of the best examples of this that sadly not enough people have seen. Beware the Batman had a great episode where Batman was in prison, and it was awesome. Where he willingly turned himself in, but he wouldn't let him take off the mask because he needed to stop Killer Croc and any other criminal getting the character called the Key, which basically would have unlocked every vault and everything in Gotham. Would have been like keys to the kingdom, and he had to somehow get him out there and just basically get him out of prison. Mm-hmm. Basically make it that the Key didn't help any criminals. It was a really good episode, and he basically had Batman fighting all these guys in prison was awesome.
Yeah.
So is it, which we pretty much do here, just matches Malone and Blockbuster, beating the crap out of criminals left and right. Is the idea like Batman, like it's like you're not locked here with you, you're locked in here with me, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the title cards season 1, and they're actually kind of season 1 is more in line with how the title cards were for Batman series, whereas in season 2 they look more in line with like the titles for like serials,
yeah,
like old school.
So there was something different there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because the title cards in season 2 they're all in black and white, and it's just the title with the background. So I think it's kind of more like, all right, we're in the world, we're in the 40s and 50s like noir style. Whereas season 1, it's more typical Batman animated series where there's like a visual background or a character or whatever in silhouette, and you have the title kind of displayed in an interesting way.
Yeah. So again, this episode very very pulp, very noir story of Batman betrays betrays a criminal to serve his mission. Of course, this is added to a very single-minded Batman who's again divided from his humanity, which we've already established. They escape together. Basically breaks the guy out. He forges a friendship with this guy. Purely manipulating the guy. Like Batman doesn't. At least he thinks he doesn't forge any connection with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Matches seemingly gets killed, but I love this bit here with all the noir touches of the episode. So the two of them escape. They meet the Riddler, and of course, Riddler instantly he tries to put a bullet and matches Malone, and Blockbuster. He's given the gun, like, okay, let's go to your next job. There's like just a single moment where while he can't shed a tear, he's got to keep moving. That's the noir touch right there. Just like it's sad, but it's not going to change him.
Yeah.
So Riddler, of course, pulls a double cross. He kills Blockbuster. And I love how we do like in the silhouette and everything. He basically mows him down James Cagney style with like the Tommy gun, which is his go-to move this season, hence the namesake, the Riddler. But Batman, after he's been shot, he chooses to stay with the dying Mark Desmond versus going after the Riddler. It's like this little moment of humanity there, and just this perfect payoff of just that Batman feels guilty for like the role that he played in the demise of this man, and he states the hinge of guilt that even he won't admit to himself. But Desmond putting the pieces together that it's matches Malone. My only friend is the GD Batman. Which they legitimize that line. The god dang Batman.
That's cool.
Yeah. Just I love the bittersweet, ironic, noir-y twists there. It was just great. And again, a Batman unwilling to admit, compassion is a strength, which is really good. It's a really solid take on this Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving like the episode just like him kind of patched up with the mask on in the cave, and just he's not going to give Alfred an inch there. Joker watches this. He watches all this go down from a distance. So again, he's still there. He's again. I get the sense. I would like to think that again, I could be reading into this moment. I want to say him watching that go down, like Batman, there with the dying man. That's where the fascination's starting to take hold for him. There's a little bit, or at least it's becoming more ingrained. Like, man, this guy's interesting the way he's playing all this. He just manipulated this man and got him killed. Like, I'm simpatico with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, which again is like speaking to the whole, Batman's dedication, his inhumanity is forging, unbeknownst to him, is forging that connection to the Joker. Where again, it's like ultimately what I'd like to think if we did a season 3 and we actually acknowledge the progress on Batman this time, it would be, that he's, that he has to change how he does things. So basically, like Joker could be a wake up call for being the more compassionate Batman, perhaps, or being more, more communal, I guess.
More collaborative, communicative,
collegial. I don't know.
Yeah, just more human, or as human as Batman can be.
I keep trying to avoid just saying human because it just feels really reductive, but it's accurate. So it's very
I mean, yeah, because like Batman, like for all intents and purposes, like he's tried to he projects himself to be the urban legend, a more monster or myth than man. And over the course of his journey in any sort of medium of entertainment, the walls come down, and he's able to be vulnerable and open to the people closest to him. And so, but for this Batman, that's like it's not like stop and go. It's very much just like there's chinks, there's openings in the wall of Batman. And mind you, this is a guy who's more a little psychotic, a little bit more disturbed. Because I seem to remember the first season, the episode when he like as a kid, the flashback where
Yeah, with Alfred says, "You will help me."
no, they will all pay, and it's like I mean, I think if you're kind of going in the mold of like the Shadow, it makes sense for him to be a little bit more. And I think very much like because Matt Reeves is part of the show's production or whatever. I think certain ideas of Batman, kind of like what we see in the Batman and in this show, that there's sort of similar cultural DNA about Bruce's psychology. So I think your issues with the relationship with Alfred and this is very much sort of the dynamic for the Bruce and Alfred and the Batman. So I think it's something where you know there's a certain idea at play about if Batman is a little bit more psychologically disturbed and not all the way there, that's going to reflect how he interacts with the Commissioner Gordon and Alfred, and there's going to be a longer journey for him to kind of be more human in that respect. So
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's transition to episode 4.
yeah, just a brief thing. I like Bruce Batman closing Desmond's eyes after he
Oh yeah,
passed.
it was a good move.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I guess Jacob said there.
Yeah, I like Desmond thing. Regarding Batman as his best friend.
Yeah. There's great bitter irony there at the end. Like his best friend was the guy that kept hitting him with a car repeatedly.
Isn't that all great friendships? There has to be some level of physical violence.
Yeah, well, there was that time I pushed Tiki down the stairs.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is the Mad Monk episode.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like I said, there's another like early classic Batman pool. Again, great early years pick for Batman. So the Barbados angle is a little weird, but here's the thing. I mean, they already kind of did a vampire in season 1, so that's the thing. So they kind of like
You have Gentleman Ghost.
yeah, we did Gentleman Ghost, but I'm just saying that Mad Monk, at least in the Matt Wagner reinterpretation, they kind of did a whole vampire angle. Now, I assume the original probably also had that, or like it was a blood cult or something. It was a blood vampire kind of thing. And we had like Nocturna. Well,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. We had like, wait, was it? Did we call her Nocturna? Would Natalie?
Yeah, Natalie. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I think we already kind of did like she's for all intents and purposes they did kind of the vampire thing with her, so we couldn't just do that again. I understand that. So the whole Barbados thing, it was a little easy that we gave him the bad ears and the design, but making him a bat cult, obviously that goes hand in hand. We're getting into the whole kind of the copycat thing with Batman, just the skosh, and more so just the idea of Batman getting blamed by our J. Jonah Jameson figure. So I think ultimately it worked in terms of adapting like the Mad Monk. I think it was in like one episode. I think that's probably the best way to do it. So I thought it was a solid.
Do you think it would have been interesting if Barbados was real, or maybe there would have been a little bit more ambiguity where you don't know for certain if Barbados, like there could be arguments for both his existence and non-existence?
Honestly, here's the thing. It feels to me the pattern is we have one supernatural episode per season. That is the next episode, not this episode. And I think that it throws you off the scent with we have our supernatural connect in this episode, but we do not. But that episode comes later, so I think that's what throws you off the scent of it. So I don't necessarily think so, but I think
Yeah, maybe they're just trying to not have too like the supernatural element is not too pronounced in this show, which is interesting because like Pulp stories, like there is like a mystical occult element, and maybe part of it is that like that's more readily apparent in Batman animated series and just the wider DCU. And in this show, like you kind of want to hold your cards on that and not go full tilt into it.
technically we've had Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen in this show, though.
Technically, but
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. Anyway, So basically, we have this kind of Barbados cult of basically this bat cult is casting doubts on Batman. They're going around, killing people and stealing valuables, and leaving like bloodstained bats on the wall, which Eel O'Brien takes a picture of. I still my favorite. I love that we have Eel O'Brien in the mix. One of my favorite things from Brave and the Bold is how he paired up Batman with Plastic Man via Eel O'Brien getting caught up in Kite Man's gang.
Yeah.
So I always loved how we did that, and it was just so the point being, I like associating Eel O'Brien in like the early years, and even in remember that Dan Slott Batman Adventures comic I told you about with the Matches Malone story.
Yeah.
They had Eel O'Brien in that too. Again, the pre Plastic Man Eel O'Brien. So
Okay.
it's I just love putting him in like Gotham's underworld, and then in some way, shape, or form. In this case, he's more adjacent to it, but anyway.
Mhm.
Um, I love this angle here. Gordon's prepared to go on Hattie Tetch's show. So he can defend the GCPD he's trying to build.
Mhm.
And he and Hattie Tetch end up getting their interview turns kidnapping. Be kidnapped by her show's producer, Dala. Oh,
Yeah.
she is from she's from the Mad Monk comic. She is the main acolyte to the main guy.
Okay.
So she is actually a full on pull, and that's why we gave her like the big bit at the end of the episode. So Dala was 1-to-1 pretty much.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we revealed the leader is basically he didn't believe in the cause. He was using it to get money, and Dala learns this, and she killed him.
Mhm.
When Batman crashed through the stained glass, I'm convinced that was a nod to the cover of Batman Gothic.
Oh,
Yeah.
I figure it was like also a nod to. Well, no, I know it wasn't a nod because I might have misremembered from New Frontier because like Batman didn't crash. Like when we see Batman, he's just fighting
He
the
is. He's fighting the cult. Yeah, the
yeah,
center. That was the cult of the center. But
yeah,
it feels very Mad Monk. They're all wearing red. So I'm pretty sure it was Darwin Cook doing a nod to the Mad Monk.
yeah.
Yeah. God, I love New Frontier. I love the comic. I love the anime. I can't get enough of that one. One of these days, I'll own the hardcover. One of these days.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
He says it's also not Deacon Blackthrow. Yeah, it's somebody else too.
Yeah.
That's Batman the Cult. Were you thinking of Batman the Cult?
No. It was no. I think Jacob was just referencing like all the like Batman, like all the cult stuff that's in
Right.
Batman. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, Deacon Blackfire being the poster child for cults and Batman.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Okay, so it's a fitting story for the setting. Just I gotta admit, it's not a lot there. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. It's not bad. It just feels like it's a one and done. It's kind of a separate one from what's going on.
Yeah.
But
There
again,
could
it's purely in there to be an old school pool, which I can respect.
yeah, it's just like, oh, it's just kind of like a one and done story, and maybe there could be interesting stuff that you could have mined if it was like a two-parter about like cult psychology and like how maybe Batman to a certain extent like enables a certain level of madness in the city, and the cults are a big aspect of that. But yeah, I think it was just like, it could have been like how Batman animated series will have just one-off episodes that like, oh, here's this like element for the comics or from pulp stories, and
I love that we have this insanely dark episode where like the guy like gets stabbed and he falls on like the knife and everything and it's like oh hail Barbatos she's like we fed and then we transitioned from that to
Mhm.
happy go lucky Hattie Tetch's tea time music with like and here's my special guest Commissioner James Gordon here's some tea
Mhm.
just this happy go lucky like it all worked out so the unsettling Joker tease here. Reveal like him. He's poisoning. He's poisoning people with the laughing toxin. I My headcanon is this moment is when he picked Hattie Tetch's program to make his debut on in towards the end of the season. I want to say like that like he's happens on a whim. He's just watching the show, and that's where he got it from.
Yeah.
So again, if I think to give a little extra reason to suddenly just like throw in a little Joker, he's coming. It's like, well, no, he's coming. But he's getting an idea.
Mhm.
As Jacob said, an actual adaptation of Batman the Cult would be insane, and probably TVMA. Not out of the realm of possibility right now with the Nightfall coming out.
Or maybe the DCU. Maybe. Well, I think you could do like a horror PG-13. I mean, considering how far Nolan and the Batman goes, I think you could do like a PG-13, like loose adaptation of the Cult or what have you, or just something like this. The Batman the Cult, I think, is a story that you could see like adapted to a wider audience. But
I mean, the kids love cults. I mean, why not?
what is social media but a collection of cults?
Yeah. Okay, and that brings us to episode 5, a Christmas episode. The Spectral Hand.
Yeah.
Okay, so this now we have to talk about this right after the halfway mark. Sadly, I noticed this and I confirmed it to make sure I wasn't going crazy. They slashed the budget on the show halfway through.
What was the tell? Because I definitely felt like the anime. I'll say this: the animation in the first season and this season is I don't think is the highlight of the show.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
that's the thing. So what happened? So at this, here's the thing. I thought I was going crazy. I looked into it. Like, look, people had similar issues. And it was like around the same point of episodes, basically 5 onward. They slashed the budget and it's all flat. Basically, the animation looks very flash animation. Like, you'll notice the character movement is like so reduced. It's like they took out like a frame of animations like within every movement.
The fight scenes, especially with Batman. Yeah. I think when we get to the episode of Thor, I definitely felt like, oh, this animation is very limited in showing the like. And I think part of it is also like Batman's not fighting like guys that can fight in a damning manner. But I feel like there was the energy was not there.
Yeah, exactly. It just felt like they took like some of the frame rates off. Like they took out a few frames, so it just looks really choppy. It basically looks. But people have been labeling is it's like animated in the Archer style,
PNG animation or whatever.
Yeah, PNG animation, whatever. Like, is Archer a PNG style? You think?
Well, I think when I say PNG animations, like you can kind of like drag the animated figure, and you're not actually showing like fluid movement or motion.
You're right. That's kind of what they've So Invincible is PNG. Is that right, Jacob?
Well, not exactly. I think the criticism is that like the animation outside of like big episodes is very like, oh, they cut. You can tell they're cutting corners.
So that's the thing. To me, it felt like it really feels like because they approved more seasons of Invincible, which we need. I think they pulled the budget from this show for Invincible. That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
it was disheartening because I really liked the season, but that's the hanging chad because I was like, oh man, because the fact that it was like it's so noticeable. That's the problem too. It's like Invincible. Obviously, they've called it out and they've like in the show like the whole. And again, the fact that Invincible, they call it out in the comic even like the whole like there's like a meta joke when he goes to a convention and we have an episode calling that, but we've applied it to the animation as well. It's like how we're cutting corners, but we're making room for the really good actions. Invincible doesn't bother me as much. Invincible, I'm used to it, and I kind of like how it looks. This is like I'm so used to it's like going up to this great fluid animation. We have like that episode Bad's beating up people left and right in prison. It looks great.
And as an aside, I think when people complain about like, oh, there's like all these celebrity voice actors, it's like even if you got like regular like die in the wool like working voice actors, I don't feel like the animation would necessarily improve that much, right? Like maybe the money would go towards the marketing and like it's like I feel like animated shows don't necessarily have like maintain the same quality they have in the first season, like because as more seasons go, you're trying to increase the profitability, and so you have to cut costs, and animation shows just have that kind of issue.
Yeah, and, Jacob says in Batman fighting the cultists in the fog was done effectively, and that's the thing. I think that was right before the budget got slashed, though.
Yeah,
no pun intended with him getting slashed throughout that fog fight.
Yeah, I'll say that like for Invincible, I think the voice actors that the celebrity voice. I feel like we really overuse the term celebrity voice actors, A-list talent, because a lot of these people none of them are A-list. Like they're none, they do great work with their voice acting for the most. I don't think there's very few or no celebrity voice actors on Invincible that are kind of phoning it in.
You got to remember, J.K. Simmons had done a lot of voice work before.
Well, no, but even those that have no voice act, like there's no one that's really phoning it in. Or it's like, oh, this like person just put like they're people are putting the effort.
Admittedly, they blew the budget on Mahershala Ali when they got a sound alike for him, but it was still a good, still in line with that performance, though.
Yeah. But going back to the spectral hand, it's cool to see like when you have like comic writers, do stuff in animation. So James DeMatteis, wrote this episode.
I've met DeMatteis. He's awesome.
Yeah. It's really interesting how the Spectre was adapted. It's not a full on, flowing green cape and like white body, but it was the look that they had worked for what the show is. So
here's the thing: this episode of all the episodes, I think, is the closest one that felt like kind of a Dini episode. The closest, at least in terms of like the premise and the writing, and the fact that Dini likes doing Christmas episodes.
Mm-hmm. He's him and Shane Black.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So, but yeah, DeMatteis, real quick, I just want to say like one of my favorite. He did the Justice League Gods and Monsters comics, the tie-in comics, which is another Bruce Timm project.
And co-wrote, with Keith Giffen, JLI,
mm-hmm.
and had a celebrated run on Spider-Man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember he wrote one of the best Superman stories I've ever read with Justice League Gods and Monsters. Like the tie-in comic for that Superman, it was like one issue. It was like one of the best Superman comics I'd read in so long. It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. Anyway, so here's the thing. So Jim Corrigan is one of those characters where often we set him up, but it's kind of hard to do the payoff on him, and we did it here. And I was really impressed that I remember we had Jim Corrigan, and I was thinking, hey, there's Corrigan, but I when the rewatch, okay, good, he didn't die. For a moment, I thought he died,
mm-hmm.
but in the rewatch, no, he's fine. And but I think, okay, at least we got Jim Corbett. We're never going to do the Spectre with him. Come this season, oh my God, we're doing the Spectre with him.
And like, they do the Spectre with this version of Jim Corrigan because, in traditional, like there's Jim Corrigan who is just a regular cop that got killed by the mob, and is made to be the spirit of vengeance and all that stuff.
Then there's the Gotham Central version of Jim Corrigan,
who's a dirty cop that kills Chris Allen, and then later on, he gets killed by Chris Allen's son, all that stuff. So doing the Spectre and combining those two versions was really interesting, and especially utilizing the Spectre as like the ghost of Christmas past, present, future, like Mr. Scrooge, like that Christmas Carol. That was really cool.
I loved it. So like I said, the tradition of they do at least one supernatural episode per season, and surprise, surprise, this was the one. I like that.
Is it not two though with Natalie though for the first season? Like,
well, wait a minute, hold on, Natalie.
Yeah, like Nocturna.
Well, you're right. You know what? You're right. No, you're right. Was she created by science though?
Oh, because she's not like a vampire, because she's like she doesn't like bite.
She has a condition. That's why she has the allergy to sunlight. But I think her brother did an experiment on her. That's why she.
Yeah, and then she sets the life force out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't really chalk up, Natalie to that one particularly, only because we had the brother and he was like firmly. Here's the thing, we had ambiguity. Sorry, we teased ambiguity and then we went full supernatural with Gentleman Ghost. The whole thing there was we thought, okay, it might have been a Scooby-Doo mystery, and then okay, no, real ghost, supernatural. And we even had John Constantine's buddy,
Papa Midnight.
Yeah, Papa Midnight. Anyway, so here though, I like that we had Papa Midnight in the previous episode, but again, it was almost like a red herring for the supernatural, and lo and behold, here we go, full supernatural. But I like that the initially, kind of like the General Ghost thing, we or I guess the Nocturna thing, we had a sci-fi basis, which I really appreciate. That it was like he had the whole longevity experiment. The moment they put the longevity experiment, I was like, okay, well, that's probably going to lead to the Spectre, and yeah, so basically it was Corrigan's get out of jail free card. He takes the risky experiment. If he somehow lives, he gets out of jail. But when we reveal that eye effect, it's like that's when we get the supernatural. And they're like, oh boy, he's legitimately the Spectre. It's like his divine punishment. He's setting things right. Seeking vengeance. So we with his look, we blended like the classic look to something practical. With the green coat and like the prison coverall. So it's kind of how we get like the grayish kind of white skin, I guess.
Yeah, and then you have his like red hair with the white stripe.
Yeah, yeah. So but yeah, so his vengeance powers, and here's the thing. Here's what I like about it. I like the ambiguity where his vengeance powers can be chalked up. The way we show them, the way they work, they can be chalked up to coincidence and inevitability.
Yeah,
You could. I obviously with the eye effect that makes me think no, that's him manifesting that. But I like in which we show it.
it's like he's kind of like Black Cat, where he could like cause sort of probability manipulation, or
Yeah,
it's in bad luck or omen. Yeah,
exactly. Just ambiguous enough. So we and another great thing this episode, we track Barbara Gordon's trauma from almost being killed by this guy.
yeah,
Yeah, which was good, and it's the whole reason we're doing that is the measure of justice versus vengeance. She's an emissary of justice. She believes in it, but this guy getting off scot free, at least initially, it really shook her faith in the system.
mm-hmm.
And this guy's showing up. Ultimately, it's a really nice payoff with the holiday setting, the Christmas Carol redemption kind of vibe here, where ultimately the episode is where ultimately shows up and he's just asking forgiveness and he succumbs to his wounds. That's a great, it's a great oneer,
Yeah,
of an episode. It's a great one and done kind of episode. And what's in here, the weird thing about this episode, ultimately, this is an episode where Batman does not impact the plot at all. Like, doesn't do anything.
Batman doesn't prevent the Spectre doing what he does.
No, it doesn't, not at all, because he can't.
Yeah.
The only reason Batman's in this episode is for the cute little cookie bit at the end where Alfred made the cookies that he baked with his mom, which was really nice. It's the only reason he's in this episode.
Yep.
All right. Okay, that brings us to episode 6. Let's see it on the board. Sudden Fear. So, this is the return of Harley Quinn and our Scarecrow introduction.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about this one?
I like the design for Scarecrow. I mean, it's like utilizing sort of a World War like a Black Plague, World War One, plague doctor kind of look. So, and it is kind of like he does look like a crow. So, it works for what it is. I like I guess of the two of us, I like this version of Harley Quinn. The way that she kind of operates, and I liked her, buddy cop dynamic with Batman in this. I think the fact that she was just hiding out in Montoya's apartment, I think it was a little silly. She could have just been hidden in like a shanty or something that's like on the outskirts of town. But like having her be in an apartment, it's like, man, like does nobody just see like a image of Harley or whatever, or like I all that aside, I think how she was brought in this episode made sense, and I do appreciate the fact that like she had a connection with a Jonathan Crane.
Yeah, which we set up in the first season that we name dropped Jonathan Crane.
That's right.
I wish we did a little bit more with that here. That's the thing. I mean, she ultimately helped unravel who it was, but it felt like, oh yes, the fear experiments. I'm familiar with this.
I kind of wish there was like a more personal connection.
Yeah,
that would have been. I think that would have added a cool wrinkle.
I think that might have redeemed her a little bit for me. A little bit. I don't know. We're operating maybes here, so I don't know. So the Scarecrow mystery on a college campus, it's not new territory because clearly we've done this before. But the name, like I said, we kind of the name kind of cropped in the Harley Quinn episode, popped up in the Harley Quinn episode. I just sorry. Few things. So Montoya just hiding Harley. Overall, sorry, my beef with Harley Quinn here, we call out in this episode even, is the whole like Batman working with her, and he points out like, well, yeah, you tried to kill me, and her response to that, just a little bit like, come on, really? That's that that's it. That's all we're getting. Like the thing, she had no reason to try and kill Batman. Her whole thing was like she's going after the rich and the upper crust, and all the, or her weird, like doctor patient confidentiality lawsuit waiting to happen going on there. Her whole thing is like she pretty much used somebody to almost beat it. I don't know if she beat that guy to death or not. Like she's using patients to commit all these crimes and everything, and like possibly.
Well, I think. I mean, she was basically like a Robin Hood that with like a psychiatric element to her. So I think that's like an interesting take because I think for me having her in that kind of mold, it's easier or at least more natural for her to kind of be a good guy or at least like be on the side of the good guys in this episode.
It's like one, we had never had a good reason for her to be dressed like a Harley Quinn.
Is that your beef?
No, it's not my beef. My beef is she tried to kill Batman when her whole thing's like there's no reason to kill Batman. It's like she deliberately tried to murder the man.
Wasn't Batman in the way? Like, is she gonna like?
But even so, she's like she set the place to self-destruct and left him in a cell.
She's a villain. Of course, she's gonna.
But that's the thing, though. It's like she's playing it like she's not a villain. The whole Robin Hood thing, by definition, is not a villain. Well, but she's supposed to be a villain.
No. I mean, no. The whole thing for villains that have like legitimate like goals or not legitimate, like who have legitimate grievances in society. The whole thing for villains like that is that they go too far. So for Harley Quinn, she's a character who goes too far, even though her aims are noble, at least at the outset.
I don't know. I just feel like she got off way too scot-free by the end of the episode. She's friends and buddies with all of our female characters in that show. We slip it under the rug only because, okay, we like kind of the Gotham City Sirens homage there, so we're going to let it slide.
So if basically you have similar problems with her as you do with Jean Grey and Brand New Day.
Maybe ultimately, yeah, I guess so.
So note to Hollywood, folks. If you're gonna have a female antagonist who's going to do bad things, make sure they're not too bad, or else this guy's not gonna be on your side.
Well, again, if they're supposed to be, look, in Harley's case, it's either make her bad or don't. Don't give me like this in between stuff. It's whole like she's trying to kill Batman out of the blue and it doesn't even fit her modus operandi at all or anything.
Hey, certain villains operate in realms of gray, my friend. I think there could be a case to be made that maybe you need to kind of like modulate the level of villainous nature in the character, especially have them be like
Jean Grey's a whole nother ball of wax. Jean Grey's a whole thing where this character's supposed to be a good guy, and even if we're introducing her and like she's walking her way back from that, it's like, come on, let's ease it up a little bit. What they have works. Just let's not go as far with it.
I guess for me, it's just like with the way I think I can understand more grievances with Harley Quinn in the sense that like. Maybe
Harley Quinn just felt, again, like fundamentally with Harley Quinn, it just felt like the problem with the first season, which was we're reinventing characters for the heck of it so we don't repeat the same character. We don't have a Joker yet, but we like Harley Quinn. We don't have Paul Dini, so we're not going to do a competent job at it. So we're going to,
I feel like I like her reinvention better than other Batman villains.
I love Jamie Chung. I think she's a great pick for like the idea of like a Harley Quinn who's like more, tied to the psychiatry. That's an angle to go with. Having her in that role, that's not bad. The introduction we had with her with Bruce Wayne, I thought that was good. Mm-hmm. It's just when she went the full Harley Quinn, it's just that's where we went off the rails with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe even she was more like how Roxy Rocket was portrayed, where she didn't. Yeah, where she didn't actively like harm people, but she was more like an antagonist to Batman rather than a villain. Then maybe, sure. Yeah. No, I see where you're coming from.
I'm saying it's like I don't think she can act all high and mighty. Well, you tried to murder the man, for just stopping you from, imprisoning people unlawfully and like basically nurse ratcheting them.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point being is that's kind of my I'll admit, I think comparatively, I think I do like, we kind of walked her back a little bit here. I don't like that line, the whole, just a little bit, that being her rationale. Uh, let's see. But here's the thing. Ultimately, the other thing, like, I'm just going to come down to the episode here. I don't think she brings a lot to the table beyond, like, when she helps Batman. Like, Batman is arriving at the same conclusions as she is in these scenes. It's just like, okay, fine. He saves maybe half a minute in conversation with somebody when he would have ended up there anyway.
Yeah, it would have been helpful if Harley.
Her biggest contribution is milk. Milk helps stop the toxin.
Well, I mean, it would have been helpful for Harley if maybe she could help defeat Scarecrow on a psychological level.
That she just says, "Nope, hands off. You do it." That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree that was a bit of a cop out.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have the cool visual of Batman, as you appear like a demon to Scarecrow.
Which is classic.
Yeah.
So the whole Scarecrow kind of misdirect, with the jock and the the son of Dr. Crane. That was something, but again, we didn't really have Dr. Crane. Technically, he's not in the episode, so that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I was surprised that the jock guy was voiced by Sun Wu, who's Pro ZD. He's like a prominent YouTuber and voice actor guy. He did a good job in this, and I kind of feel like in light of did you think that it was a worthwhile misdirection with the whole professor of it all playing being a red herring for Scarecrow, even though obviously it was kind of like this young kid being Scarecrow?
I mean, given I didn't see. I guess a part of me didn't see it coming for the kid just because I don't know. Maybe it was too transparent. Maybe then again, we the audience were used to seeing all these things, so it's kind of a thing where we automatically go past the obvious answer and going for the the obvious red herring and the obvious the least likely being the most likely, the what is it, the Gordian knot?
No.
Not the Gordian knot. What's the?
You're mixing. You're going for the red herring. You're literally going for the person's presented, but he's the false suspect or whatever. That's the red herring, and then the kid. I think the fact that his name is something Burton. It's maybe subconsciously they're doing a Tim Burton reference, and then have this guy just be Scarecrow, and then have the actual Scarecrow come down the line. But
yeah, I mean that's the thing. That guy fits the build of what we expect with Scarecrow. So red herring.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it's kind of.
What I mean is the whole thing of it's either going to be the obvious answer or it's going to be again the least likely one being the most likely, which would be
Yeah, that's also a weird, also inadvertently a Gotham reference, with the whole
father son Scarecrow thing. Yeah. Which again, just if we had Scarecrow Senior, but I think the best part of the episode though was Batman's fear, which was we see old Bruce Wayne, which I did not. This was this was the coolest part of the episode where he gets infected with the fear toxin, and we see his fear is not bats like we're expecting, what Scarecrow's expecting. It's being old and helpless, while Gotham's burning. And no fear, that was cool.
Yeah, his fear is fear, but really the fear is of that ultimately all that he does as Batman is pointless or actually led to what he sees in his vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if maybe if there's more seasons of the show, if that kind of fear gets realized in a certain way, or if he kind of we see a flash forward to an older Bruce Wayne, whatever version of Batman Beyond they do in the show or whatnot.
Yeah. All right, let's see. So also Harley, she turns herself in. We have this ice skating thing we paid off. Just
Mm-hmm.
Go figure. That brings us to episode 7. Her Dark Reflection. This is a good one. This is actually this is not exactly what people think it is, but I mean, I kind of.
No, I initially was like, "Are we doing Poison Ivy?"
Yeah.
And then as the episode goes on, it's oh, Rose. Yeah.
So yeah, you tell them.
Yeah, so for people who are not in the know, Rose Thorn, she's an obscure Golden Age supervillain who's relevance for people in that are maybe more than known DC Comics. She is the lover slash wife of Golden Age Green Lantern Alan Scott, and is the mother of two characters, Jade and Obsidian.
Yes, but I think ultimately the consensus is going to approach this episode like thinking it's Poison Ivy, and for all intents and purposes, we're using Rose and Thorn as kind of a revamped Poison Ivy. But well, again though, that said, what?
It's like pseudo Poison Ivy.
Yeah, pseudo Poison Ivy, or like a, kind of a like a kind of a revamped Poison Ivy, a pseudo Poison Ivy. But again, ultimately, really is those characters, pretty well reimagined.
Yeah.
With kind of I kind of like it as like a noir reimagining of Poison Ivy, frankly, which I think ultimately is I'd like to think they're smart enough to realize, okay, look, we're not trying to make it Poison Ivy, but we recognize the audience is going to associate Poison Ivy, so we're just going to using a deep cut as kind of our Trojan horse for Poison Ivy,
and it's connected to a character who was the OG superhero of Gotham City before Batman.
That's right.
And also the fact that she has DID, in the comics, and that's reflected in the show.
Yeah,
kind of like a mix of Poison Ivy and Two-Face.
Now you got to remember, so James Tucker is, from what I understand, so James Tucker is involved in the show. And I want to say in the seasons between, I don't know if he's an executive producer on this, but from what I've heard, I want to say he really stepped up with season 2. That he really was. You got to remember, J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves are pretty much named producers only on this.
EPs, yeah.
Yeah. That said, though, EP. I mean, EP is just the executive producer still, right?
Yeah, that's what it stands for.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you also have, like Bruce Timm Company, they're also executive producers, but
yeah, it's really Ed Brubaker, James Tucker, any sort of main writers you see in that. So
that's the thing. So the point being, James Tucker, of course, is the man behind Batman: Brave and the Bold. He ran that ship, so he's very. I think we're seeing a lot more James. It feels like there's a lot more James Tucker influence on season 2. I can't back that up with anything, but it just kind of feels that way. And like James Tucker loves a deep pull from like the Silver Age and the Golden Age, like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have a deep cut DC character with split personality, which again, take it as Poison Ivy or not, however you will. I really love this as kind of a great like long con revenge tale for her. Just this poor mousy, kind of daughter of the flower shop, Rose. She loses her father to the Riddler, and just leads this long con revenge via the dormant personality that we set up that her mother also probably had a mental instability, or maybe had a dissociative. We don't know if she had issues, perhaps.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we kind of set it up, and also she got the dress from the mother.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, this led to the death of her father, led to the psychological breakdown, and she asserted herself into this plan. But my favorite detail in the episode was Alfred knew the father and daughter because this is where he bought flowers for the Wayne family graves,
and Bruce always assumed it was the cemetery that did all that.
I love that detail so much. My favorite things in the season, just like that moment with Bruce Wayne where he strikes a chord with them, where it's the little thing to awaken the humanity, just like it's the thing where there's that disconnect from his humanity, but the parents are definitely the blind spot for him, as traditionally with Batman. But that's the thing. That's the only thing that really kind of like his whole mission is tied into that deeply personal human thing for him. So it's just a little thing, it's like the people that kind of kind of helped you honor your parents, helped Alfred honor your parents for you.
Mm-hmm.
They've been wrong, so it kind of motivates them to step up here. Anyway, so Thorne's seduction of the Riddler, makes them all jealous, makes Lily Gardner jealous. And Thorne ultimately she goes on a crime spree with the Riddler, and she puts Batman in a death trap, which I like to think she. Mind you, I don't think she really cares what happens to Batman, but I think it's the logic. Okay, she gave Batman a fighting chance by not having Riddler kill him then and there. So
Mm-hmm.
Again, we have to do with a nod to Poison Ivy with the whole. She tipped the basically tipped like the little spike choker belt thingy with poison.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I love the revenge payoff, the funerary flower arrangement. Like she takes him to the spot where he killed her father, and this is like Rot at Enigma. Just like what was this? Some kind of joke? Is he shoots that? Basically guns him down the way he gunned her father. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Great noir revenge plot. And it feels very Bruce Timm, honestly. It feels like I forget if Dean. I want to say Bruce Timm wrote and drew the. Do you remember the Two of a Kind Black Batman Black and White comic at all?
Oh, where like Two-Face gets his face cured,
Uh-huh.
and he's in a romantic relationship with someone who has like a twin sister,
Yeah.
and the twin sister kills the good one, and then he kind of reverts back to his old Two-Face ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always love that, and I think Bruce Timm both wrote and he either wrote and did the art on it, or maybe Dini teamed up with him on that. But I don't know. I want to say it was Tim's baby, and it really kind of has the shades of that here, and I really like that.
Yeah.
So Riddler's off the board. Enter Joker getting Riddler's muscle.
Yep.
Also, we set up the one bad day thing here, which is again like little nods and hints at Joker without Joker being there. We have this, Batman kind of saying, "Well, all it takes is one bad day."
And the fact that like Rose has this sort of dual persona. There is sort of the Bruce Wayne Batman. And obviously the show doesn't really establish like Bruce Batman to have such different psychological personas, but there is that duality at play.
Yep.
And and the fact that Rose is a character who has dual identity disorder and wears green in her costume persona or more theatrical persona, there's certainly a whole comparison there.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to episode 8. Another unique one here. 0 Hour.
Yes. Not an adaptation of the comic event from the 90s.
No, not that one. No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mr. Zero.
Yes.
So this is a return of Carrie Kelly and the introduction of Mr. Zero. So at first, you know who I thought before we revealed it was Mr. Zero. You know who I thought it was?
Who?
I would have bet you dollars to donuts it was like a deep pull. It was the Eraser, like a really cool version of the Eraser.
Oh, I was honestly thinking the same thing.
Right? Because his head looked like an eraser with the
I
whole.
was thinking Eraser, but I was thinking like, oh, like they kill someone, they're bringing a guy who's like erasing, like getting rid of a crime scene or whatever, or like the broker or something like. I was on the kind of same wavelength, but the fact that it was like, oh, he had like a freezing truck. It's like, oh, they're just doing Mr. Freeze, but
Yeah.
my Mr. Zero is like a prototypical version of a Mr. Freeze, right?
Yeah, well, let's think. So before Mr. Freeze but his initial name was Mr. Zero, and I want to say '60s Batman renamed him Mr. Freeze.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that because the later comic appearances they call him Mr. Freeze, but I want to say that was after '60s Batman. They kind of gave him a little bit of a revamp, and then of course Batman the Animated Series gave him the ultimate revamp that made the character beloved.
Yeah.
So again, he would have really fit because the way he was talking about things, even before like he didn't really have a freeze gimmick in himself. He just had like it was kind of weird. Before it was like he said Mr. Zero. It was like, huh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all the ice truck, but again, it fit the Eraser's his whole thing is he cleaned up crime scenes, which
there's always zero evidence, yeah.
But yeah, so the Eraser though. No, I'm saying this is just the character of the Eraser. Rohith. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about Mr. Zero. Mr. Zero, his whole thing was like below zero, so he was always a freeze gimmick kind of guy.
Yeah.
In the comics, just they had a different name. He was dressed. He was wearing like there's the Mr. Freeze outfit where it was like the green and purple. That's what Mr. Zero was. Anyway, my point is the Eraser is such an underrated Batman villain that you see occasionally in like only the huge desperate ensembles like Lego Batman, which I always loved him because he's a man who dresses like a pencil. Such a cool stupid gimmick.
Was he ever in Brave and the Bold? Because I feel like that's like the one show where
he was. Like, here's the thing: in Brave and the Bold, they had like big, Pow Zap and Wham kind of team up fights, and in those fights, they would have like big ensembles. He never got like a one-on-one episode, but he was like in the crowd of villains, like the villain bars, and like a big action scene, he would be there. But we never got to see him really do his thing. That's a character I was of all the obscure Batman villains, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Anyway, because we never do anything with him. It's way better than Camerahead. So, anyways, point being, we do have Mr. Freeze here, which is an interesting take on Mr. Freeze. And here's what I really like about it is that I've always flirted with the idea of Mr. Freeze with a mob connection. Not him necessarily working for the mob, but I've always thought of it like, like for example, back when we were speculating what the third Nolan Batman film would be villain wise.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of a grounded Mr. Freeze, like fundamentally Mr. Freeze, I always want to see like the main thing you absolutely can do with any Mr. Freeze you do. Like I'm looking at you, James Gunn and DC Universe, flesh it, like basically do the opening of Up with Victor and Nora Freeze. Like I want to see the relationship. I want to feel what he looks. That's the main thing we got to do with him. Even Batman and Robin gave us like one little taste of that, which we never get elsewhere.
Yeah.
We saw the wedding video.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, my point being, otherwise though, it would be like the mob, like basically they kill his wife and or freeze his wife, and the point being per Nolan things, it'd probably just be simply they kill his wife and they try killing him using chemicals and stuff, like a freezing accident.
Yeah.
And that, of course, would be the birth of Mr. Freeze. So usually a mob connect would be an easy way to create Mr. Freeze and have him go on a revenge tear. Yeah. But yeah, so the idea of like tying him into the mob is like the cleanup guy. I thought that was an inspired choice. I really like that for revamp.
And it's cool is that like when we see what it all results at the end, it's like it's kind of like it reminds me of like Professor Pig, like the idea of like preserving or in some say like surgically improving upon like his victims. So like having him just be ice statues, that's like kind of like a work of art in his sense. So that was a really cool take on sort of the freeze gimmick of it all.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh, by the way, I love that with the freeze truck they had a lot of nods, and like in the phone book to Batman the Animated Series, they had one of them was like the deep freeze, like ice moving company or whatever. But they had like deep freeze and Sub Zero and like little little nods. Anyway, so Carrie Kelly. So we bring Carrie Kelly back by popular demand, it seems. And, she's adopted by a nice family, voiced by some familiar people. Maria Canals Barrera, the voice of Hawkgirl. She played the adopted mother, and kept Michael Richardson as the father, who was also Mr. Zero.
Yeah, and voiced the Joker in the Batman.
Of course, amongst many, many, many other roles. Prolific voice actor, that Kevin Michael Richardson.
Yeah.
So, Julie, a fun little fact here for you. Carrie Kelly is voiced by Kaylee Ehrmantraut from Better Call Saul.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, mind you, they've had a couple Kaylee Ehrmantrauts. I'm pretty sure it was one of the ones from Better Call Saul, Juliet Donenfeld.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. So, I want to say Kaylee from season 2, but I could be wrong. So, let's see. Anyways, the point being, she's riding high on the fact that she saved Batman. She's been going out, I believe, as the Caped Crime Buster. Is that what?
Yeah.
And of course, the Caped Crime Buster is basically patterned off a Gray Ghost costume. It's basically the Gray. So the Gray Ghost in universe is. Assume they never spelled it out, but I think the presumption is that instead of seeing Mark of Zorro, he watched the Gray Ghost movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think it's a great choice. Even the Lego Batman game they put out has kind of done that. It's great. There's always a tribute to Adam West when they do that, so can't go wrong there. So the point being, she's going out as as kind of the Gray Ghost essentially. Batman, sorry. Amidst all this, Batman he's looking into Mr. Zero, and meanwhile Bullock is like a truancy officer. So I love this is where they're softening Bullock here from. This is the episode. Bullock is kind of like this truancy officer, and I love that there's this bit in the episode where Bullock he's trying to like say, oh, you got a bad orphan kid here, you should send her back or whatever, and he's just being really mean to her. And later on, when Bullock catches her again, he holds her up by the cape, and I just love Carrie Kelly calling Bullock out on all his crap. Just like giving him that steely look as you think Bullock's about to hit the girl, but the fact that he kind of sees a little bit of himself and his determination, or like probably.
I don't really see it as like there's a side. I think he's just like
He
You know?
doesn't hit. Come on, there was a bit there where he could have absolutely Bullock absolutely
Yeah,
could have hit her, but he
but he's like,
stopped.
oh, I'm just gonna send you to juvie. That'll teach you a lesson. I don't feel like Bullock is like on the path to redemption.
I'm not saying it's overnight. I'm just saying at that moment though, it's like he knew that she was right and he just couldn't bring himself to hit her. But it's like, oh, the other kids in juvie hit her, hit her for me. So again, he's not all the way there clearly, but that was like the one moment of like there's.
I don't know. I feel like with the way the show characterizes the cops,
And we give him some laughs later where he's chasing her, like, oh, please stop running. Give some John DiMaggio comedy. I don't know.
I think he's just kind of a less like in terms of a crooked cop, he's less of a shitty crooked cop than say Flash, but
Yeah.
he still was on the take. He still like had he still like was like I think the show has
Well, remember in the comics, Bullock was corrupt, but he worked his way back. That was the whole thing.
yeah, but like I think for this show, like I think its whole like, maybe this will change in future seasons, but I feel like there's not many good cops in GCPD outside of Gordon and Montoya.
I'm
And
saying Bullock's always been a popular character. We can't just make him like the villain cop forever. I mean, that's the one you gotta redeem Bullock if anyone, you know.
I don't know. I mean,
That would be the ultimate. That would be Gordon's ultimate victor if he turned the crooked cop honest.
I don't know, man. I just think I just think with how the Batman and like the Penguin and like this, I feel like this show's depiction of GCPD is just a little bit more cynical and there's very like it's I mean I feel like that's the only way you have Batman be a little bit more aloof and distant from GCPD outside of Gordon, you know. Unless eventually you build up, I just don't see.
I'm saying we Bullock throughout the whole series though. He's the dummy who's followed Flask's orders. He's never really made like the big terrible calls himself. He's never done the irredeemable stuff personally. I mean, he's done on orders of Flask, but he's never really come up with the idea. Flask is the bad guy.
I could see the show giving having Bullock have a choice, and then Bullock chooses the bad choice. And
really?
Then, yeah, I mean, dude, like you have like corrupt Jim Corrigan, you have Flash, you have Bullock. Like I feel like the show's whole thing.
I'm saying Corrigan and Flash are like the by the book corrupt cops.
Because the show like is very much trying to be in the film noir milieu, and in film noirs, like the cops are not like the most up and up. Like they're like you'll have like maybe one or two honest cops, and then everyone else is kind of cynical, apathetic, or on the take, right? So I feel like that's like the DNA of the show. Like like especially this is a show that's for adults, or it's supposed to lean towards an adult direction. I don't feel like there's an incentive to have Bullock be redeemed in any particular way. Maybe he'll make like one final heroic like act, but I think he'll be a corrupt cop, but just less overly antagonistic as compared to Flash. But
yeah. So I guess the main plot of the episode though. So Carrie wants to help Batman. Batman, there's real dangerous stuff. So he really yells at her, really lets her have it. Again, Batman, BTAS Batman probably would have been a little nicer to her.
Wasn't there a scene in an episode where Batman saves kids from being run over by a train? And it's like, hey, if you play chicken, you get fried.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Like, I mean, maybe he wouldn't be as harsh as this Batman, but
I'm saying that was a PSA from Batman, though. This is like go.
Oh yeah, it's like, hey, if you mess around, you're gonna die. Yeah, that's what you deliver to a child who just got like probably almost pissed themselves or whatever. But
still, I know Batman. Batman saved them from getting killed when they're doing stupid stuff. It was Batman trying to set them straight. Yeah,
but this is a Batman that isn't like or at least likely to have a psychic anytime soon. So of course he's gonna have some tension.
No, I'm not saying it was a problem. I'm just saying that I think it's an example of the animated series Batman would have had a little softer touch than this guy, which makes sense for this guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, she thankfully, she returns to help him, and they team up, and we have a little Dark Knight Returns homage. Obviously, it being Carrie Kelly, but when they do the kick to Mr. Zero, they do the Dark Knight Return comic pose where they do like the kick at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. So we find, in amidst all the big plot pointers, we find Rupert Thorne's body. So we finally have found Rupert Thorne to confirm, okay, he's dead.
Yeah.
And not only dead, he's Batman's trying to get answers. And before, just as Mrs. Ear is about to crack, before being dipped into the freezing solution,
Yeah.
Joker kills him just outright, just like one in the head, one in the throat, one in the head.
Mm-hmm.
He's dead. And then we, of course, he looks around, and we do our
I kind of wonder in retrospect if you didn't have the end teaser of Joker and you just kind of have these random deaths happen, you don't show Joker until the very end of the season, like how big of a reveal that would have been.
Well, remember, we technically we don't get a good look at him until then. We kind of, when he walked in with Riddler's men, and we still kind of cover him up a little bit with the hat and everything. So
we clearly see like a guy in purple with a white face. Like at the end, it's like that's what I'm saying. Like if you didn't show any indication of there being a Joker-like person till the very end of the season, like that, I think would have made such a huge, big reveal. Because then you would have like, oh, who's the?
I mean, we already set him up at the end of the first season.
So that's what I'm saying. You didn't have that setup at the end of season 1. You go into season 2, and there's like these mysterious deaths happening. This like new mysterious player, and it's like, oh, is it like Black Mask, or is it like whoever? And then you reveal the Joker. I think it would have been like even bigger. Like oomph factor.
I don't know. I think it's effectively done. I think we're building, like we're seeing the pieces come together, and even here, like we don't see the Joker take the shot. We just have mysterious sniper take out of Mrs. Zero.
But we see like the Joker in prior episodes. That's what I'm saying. You didn't show like any indication there being the Joker at all. It's just like someone in silhouette or shadow. You don't see like his suit or anything like that, and then you reveal it's the Joker. That would have been like a big like oomph open. I mean the lead build up.
Come on, Rohith, let's not be spoiled here, okay? Let's just take what we've been given here. Let's.
Well, I think there's value in holding the card, but with what we have, it's good. I think it could be even better, but that's how they do it.
Well, we get a money shot of like Rupert Thorne with the smile, and we see also it's Batman at a factory setting, so like little nods and homages to Jokers that we've gotten over the years that we're not doing here. Like the classic fall into the vat of chemicals kind of set piece.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to our penultimate episode. Honestly, one of the best episodes of the season, episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
Or as the Joker would say, 9.
Yeah.
Dead Before Dawn. Yeah, this is a great episode. This episode pretty much a big tribute to the original Joker debut, which of course famous story that one of the reasons I really like it. Having the animated series, The Laughing Fish, which Laughing Fish was it's like the ultimate Joker story, which they kind of combined, the greatest hits of the Joker, which was his first appearance primarily in terms of the structure of the episode, the whole Laughing Fish, copyrighting the Steve Englehart copyrighting the Fish story, and then kind of Denny O'Neil's kind of basically combining those two stories and what he did, which is ultimately was adapted in Batman animated series. Also, Joker's 5-Way Revenge too. That's where you get the shark from.
Yeah.
Point being, I love when we kind of do a take on the Joker's first appearance with like the whole he announces, goes on the airwaves, he announces his crime. Even the Dark Knight movie did this because it's the ultimate Joker story.
Yeah,
he's challenging Batman to stop him, and people are gonna die with a smile. So basically, it's another structural thing that we have between our two seasons. We have our 2-part finale almost, to kind of a pattern. We kind of have our setup and our payoff with the episode 9 and 10. Mm-hmm. So the opening, Joker kills Hattie Tetch and takes over the broadcast pretty much identically to the comic in terms of like they have somebody in a chair, they die and fall out of the chair, and he just sits in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Taking over the broadcast. He announces the mayor's death in like 24 hours or whatever. Alfred. I like the detail that Alfred's like been told to record, but he only catches like the last few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this was beyond awesome, man. So Batman and Joker have their first confrontation at the television studio, and right off the bat, Batman's like getting in his way, pulls that out of like a sawed-off shotgun or something, like blast him right in the chest, and we
Yeah.
have like the little Dark Knight Returns homage with like the Kevlar circle underneath that's hence why he wears the bat symbol, kind of a thing. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have our ticking clock structure here. Or Gotham's. We see Gotham's corruption with Flash seals the mayor's fate. Basically, Flash is like the symbol for Gotham's corruption. Basically, seals the mayor's fate in more ways than one. It's the fact that everything in Batman, even though Batman recklessly kind of went in there like taking all the GCPD cops, but it still would have delivered the same results. Mayor was a goner because of the timed chemical kind of makeup of the Joker venom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Batman goes after. We have a great bit where Batman goes after Riddler's men as a lead because he recognized one of them from the footage that he did get, and that leads to a nod to the opening of Batman: The Killing Joke, where we have like the fake Joker.
Yep.
Which is neat. Also, he was impressive. You have John DiMaggio, who's in this show, and John DiMaggio has played the Joker in Batman Under the Red Hood, and he is playing a guy faking being the Joker and laughing to death, and without sounding just like the John DiMaggio Joker. That's impressive.
That is impressive. Yeah.
So with that guy, we show all the henchmen like is the Joker kind of demonstrating his scheme to Batman, like how he can kind of time it out for them to die whenever he needs them to.
Mm-hmm.
Just the most horrific, grueling death, laughing death that we've seen. Where the guy just dies and he's crying as he's dying of laughter in Batman's hand, with the last gasp of air and everything. And like the mayor's death, it's the time tux and all this. So again, it's a pretty straightforward episode of Joker is like getting one over on Batman. The bodies. Then we have like the really creepy thing.
Oh,
the episode ends.
Yeah. Everyone standing up and emitting.
The corpses lean up.
Yeah.
So the bodies expel all the laughing gas in like the scariest way possible, and Alfred is hit with it. Like that's what I'm saying. Episode 9, I think, is like the best episode of the season, man. It's just god, it's just hit all the right
notes. And the actor who voices Joker in this, Matthew Needham, he plays a creepy character in House of the Dragon, Larry Strong.
I've heard about this. So how is this guy in that show?
Oh, he plays a very good creep. He has a particular scene with Olivia Cook's character that's, like intentionally unsettling and all that stuff. So the way he played the Joker in this is he's obviously it's like scary and creepy, but in a very different way. I think like his character in House of Dragons, like much more sniveling, kind of a pervert or like a leech, whereas in this he's more like German, cold, clinical, and I really appreciate Joker being voiced in a foreign with a foreign like German accent and all that. It's the whole Conrad Veidt of it all. Matthew, British actor, he's able to do like a very good German accent for the most part, at least as far as I can tell. So for any Germans out there that disagree, let us know if there's anyone from Germany watching this. I think the whole angle of Joker being this very cold, calculating, aloof, he's very much like Golden Age Joker, and sort of the chaos of it is from his like laughing gas. It's really it's a take that's was already part of the Joker DNA of the beginning, but then Joker kind of evolved, and doing this in a modern day Batman story, it's almost sort of subversive or novel for audiences that are used to sort of classic Joker.
And again, I like the whole Hattie touch thing where he kind of set her up as this kind of like kind of a not a jokey character, but it's basically it's kind of like our lighthearted kind of framing device, and then we just kill her off so brutally, and then at the end of the episode, like she's she's a corpse that's expelling all this laughing gas. It's like, oh my god, so horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that brings us to our season finale, The Laughing Death.
Yeah, this was a great finale.
Yeah.
all the stuff like the idea of the laughing gas mixed in with the
The
blockbuster
Monster
hero.
Man blockbuster. Yeah.
It's like I kind of wish the Arkham games did had this be what Joker did with Tiny Serum.
Now remember, we have seen something like this though.
Like literal like gargantuan goons that are what's like permanent smiling faces.
Not gargantuan, but enhanced and kind of joke like basically people jokerized to the point where they were committing acts of violence and basically everything way up the scale of the Monster Men. So here's the thing: the I mean, honestly, it kind of feels a little bit like even the corpses like expelling the laughter. And mind you, I was saying original to this, but the idea of it's a very Scott Snyder Batman Endgame inspired kind of Joker thing that we're doing here. Also, a little bit of a death in the family thing where Alfred was Jokerized.
Mm-hmm.
So we've Jokerized people before, but the idea that in Batman Endgame, like there was like a whole like everyone was being Jokerized like through like the giant balloons of Gotham thing. Like we had like nod to '89, and I think that's how the gas was. Like everyone was becoming Joker. Oh wait, actually wait, no, it wasn't gas. Joker in Batman Endgame because basically the gloves were off and he was so sick of Batman spurned his affection. He basically wanted like no jokes, no. I'm gonna show you how easy it would be. You've taken the romance out of what we do. I'm going to show you how easy it would be to actually end it all without all the fun and all the the tit for tat kind of thing that we do. He used Joe Chill as patient zero, Jokerized Joe Chill, and basically unleashed a plague through Gotham of like infecting everyone with like the Joker venom and everything, and turning them into basically Joker zombies. Or if they touched you, you became Jokerized.
Mm-hmm.
And it was scary as all get out. They weren't monster size. So you're right, though. If we did the Titan thing, it would have been even creepier if they all turned like Joker.
Honestly, like what was done here, it's like I could see absolute Batman like having something like this.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It feels very Scott Snyderist in concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the monster serum crossed with the Joker venom, with the just these hulking, laughing monsters. It is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And also a little bit at the beginning of this episode, Batman's fighting Alfred. It's a nod to an early days Batman story. It might have been from the 50s. It was the the Alfred. I remember that thing I told you about in the Harley Quinn show. I didn't like season 5 of Harley Quinn.
Oh,
They
you
actually did
the outsider bad guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they did like the outsider Alfred, the thing where he basically turns like the hulking like white skinned kind of like monster for a bit, and a little bit of an homage to that here. It's a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right.
Little bit. They literally did in Harley Quinn. It was more of an allusion to it. So I like the detail that the people that are infected are somewhat cognizant, and like it's kind of like their unfiltered opinions, through the guise of madness,
Yeah.
which is Joker's whole thing. He wants Gotham to destroy itself through not so much its madness, but more so like through the corrupt underbelly of itself.
Yeah, it's like it's the joke is that people are craving, and then the civilization just kind of like it's
There's no hope for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the it's like Alfred just calling Batman out for how much of a jerk he is to him, which he has been.
Yeah.
And then we get our big Alfred, which again for me the whole season feels like I don't know. For me, it still feels like a step back where it feels like he would stop calling him Pennyworth and call him Alfred. But then again, we wouldn't have the dramatic heft of him saying Alfred here to kind of shake him for a second. But
Yeah.
But again, importantly, Alfred saved the day here. Alfred came up with the antitoxin, so So
yeah,
what?
with how Alfred was shown in the show at the beginning, it's like you wouldn't think that this is like a very super competent Alfred. And he is. He's just like I think like probably because he's like he's a more rotund, big guy. Alfred. It's like you would imagine to not take him as seriously as like thin Alfred, but he's very capable. He's very helpful in Batman's Crusade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So we have chaos at the GCPD. I really wish Bullock killed Flass. I really do. Because Flass is one of those guys, it's like Powell from Daredevil Born Again. You just want to see him get it.
Mm-hmm.
Such a scumbag, and I've always hated Flash. Not in terms of like in terms of like because you're supposed to hate him. Like ever since Batman Year One, it's like, oh man, Flash, such a jerk.
And it's kind of funny, like how Flash is like just like visually different. Like in the comic in Batman Year One, he's like this tall, kind of like Eddie.
Flash Thompson on steroids.
Yeah. And then in Batman Begins, he's kind of like he's kind of like a heavy shaped guy. He could have passed his Bullock.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and then in this, he's like a just average build black guy. I love him calling Bullock Sloppy Joe.
Yeah, it was a fun runner. I think did he call him that through the first season too? I think he might have.
Probably. Also love his colorful suits.
I know. That's the thing with Flash, man. I hate his guts, but I think he's got good wardrobe.
Yeah, he's on the take. He's got he's got money. He's got to blow it on something nice.
Yeah.
It's either the suits or the broads.
Yeah. Yeah. Bullock has to pay for the broads. That's the difference.
I will say that in light of where things end up with them, I'd be very curious, like for season 3, where that goes. I feel like there has to be kind of a final conclusion to their relationship.
I was really hoping the conclusion was Bullock brutally murders Flash.
Ooh, I imagine if Flash kills Bullock and gets away with it.
I would have hated that. That would have really ticked me off.
Dude, that's a very full noir thing to happen, man. The good maybe like, oh, you could have it where like Bullock is like uncovering a conspiracy and Flash is the one that's like organizing it, and then Flash like kills Bullock and say, hey, he's the one that those like on the take or whatever kind of fucked up thing. So if that goes that route, I know you're going to be mad for that to happen, but that's a very film noir, very half glass empty kind of look at this show. So maybe Batman gets to avenge Bullock by beating the crap out of Flash.
See, I'm hoping for like the touch of evil redemption for Bullock. That's what I'm hoping for.
Orson Welles' touch of evil. I feel like that dude was that dude was a corrupt cop.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. But here's the thing: he was a corrupt cop, but again, he was engaging to watch, and you kind of rooted for him though.
I mean, I don't know if
I'm saying if he's gonna be. I'm saying, look, obviously, I would want more of a redemption. I'm saying if we're stuck with him being the corrupt cop, like you keep saying, he's destined to be. I'm saying that's the way to go with him.
Yeah, like that he was right for how he went about it, even though he was kind of still, yeah. I mean that'd be very interesting. I honestly I could see that happening for Flash. That would be funny. I know. I'm not trying to just destroy your hopes for Bullock to be redeemed, but
why you crush all my dreams, Rohith? Why you gotta stomp on my donut box of hopes? Just imagine, galoshes in the rain on the donuts.
Let's film the war, man. There's no happy ending.
We'll do it in black and white.
You don't have sound. You just have the dialogue in the still images.
I'm in a pool and Rohit's like where the shot's looking up. He's just looking down.
Oh man. But going back to this episode, I love the dynamic between Batman and Joker. Joker does this like, oh, you and I are not that different, which I think is not played out in this episode. I do appreciate like the way it's delivered. Yeah. And I like kind of this like very
Sherlock Holmes Moriarty,
German existentialist, nihilist kind of a deal. And the way I don't know about you, Drag It Up, I feel like there was some 89 like homaging. I
think there was a lot more Dark Knight, like the pewter building fight, because the whole construction site battle and everything. It felt a lot.
Well, I was thinking 89 with the bazooka, like knocking.
Oh yeah, the bazooka. Yeah, when took out the Batmobile. Sure, that's a good point.
Well, I was thinking like 89 with like when Joker takes out the Batwing with like
Yeah,
his.
that's what I mean. Yeah, takes it out with the long gun, but also uses a bazooka in the Dark Knight when
Yeah,
when the
that's
squad is
right.
struck.
And then also I was thinking like, oh, like Joker's falls, like, oh, like what happened in '89. But he didn't
Mhm.
die, like fall to his death. He kind of just goes, missing. I do like the fact that Joker starts smiling and laughing
Yeah.
at the
Oh,
end.
that's great. I will. Here's the thing. I love the fight. It felt like I said, felt a lot like kind of like the Dark Knight climax. But I just, I do think we use the elevators a little too much. Like it's like they fight and he goes in the elevator. They fight, he goes in the elevator.
I feel like I feel like if it was a Batman video game, it's just like
Yeah,
he's just like Batman has to like the grapple hook, get it, get onto the level of the Joker, and then fight and get up to the level of
yeah. But that's the thing. So it's just the great idea that he's done all this. It's the show Batman that they're both wild cards in a corrupt city, and it's like everything he's done visually. We conveyed madness is coming for the city, and this is just the beginning. And the whole kind of the whole like long Halloween kind of concept. It's basically this is the beginning. It's like the city's own sin and inner demons is fueling all this monstrous behavior, which
yeah.
the whole like being cognizant of what's going on. Again, the scene where Gordon, gets he gets infected, but he's telling everyone to run. I love in his last moments he's trying to save his daughter in Montoya. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Joker's whole point behind all this is to make Batman question what he's fighting for.
Yeah.
So ultimately he says like you're alone. We only have each other, and of course that's where Batman is. He's kind of grows up here, says, "Oh, you're wrong," because he has Alfred with the anti venom, which basically,
And he's writing the bad plate. That was really cool.
again, had Alfred, had he cut himself off, and had there been no Alfred, he would not be able to save the day here. So again, Alfred is the pro.
And the gas being blue color, it's like a classic, Batman color, blue and yellow, or
Yeah,
Joker's laughing at screen. So
yeah.
primary color versus secondary color. So it was a good end off in that episode, and the way the show ends with Batman, Gordon, Montoya, and Barbara looking out in the sun. It's like very rarely do we have Batman out in daylight, so it's kind of neat to have that. We don't, the Joker's missing, but he'll show up down the line, and if this show ends with this season, like I think this is a pretty good end, like early days Batman story in the 30s, 40s, 50s kind of realm. And if there's more seasons, I'm hoping to like if the quality as the quality increase from season 1, season 2, it goes to season 3, and you have more, you know, Batman elements or just more this character being more of a traditional Batman, like to a certain point, you still want to maintain like the film noir pulp element of it all, but
Well, real quick, I just want to say too. I just love the fate of the Batman Joker play here, where he uses the batarang. I've always loved it when the batarang actually functions like a boomerang. It goes, he throws it and it comes back, and the fact that we did that, and he ends up impaling the Joker, which is a nod to his first defeat, because originally the Joker was, if memory serves, I want to say the Joker was supposed to be hit by. It was one of two things. It was either at some point they contemplated hitting him with a train.
yeah.
And then they changed it to, he stabbed himself, which is what made it into the comic. And then initially he was just going to get killed off, like a one and done. And then somebody came up with the idea of like, we're going to add a line where it says, "Oh, he's alive. So just miss his heart. He's alive." And that's kind of where the tradition of we seemingly kill off the Joker, but we can never, keep it.
And then it gets reference homage in Dark Knight Returns with like the Batarang in the Joker's eye.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, just a little great nod there. And again, his only laugh as he falls into the plume and disappears, and Batman's very unconvinced that he's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so them on the rooftop, and as the sun's coming up, and they cite the line that Harvey Dent gave them at the end of the first season, the unending tide, line. Like,
Yeah. I kind of wish, can you remember how at the beginning of the season, like Gordon's making the bat signal?
yeah.
It would be cool to have this version of Batman have.
Oh, did you notice when what it looked like when he was drawing that bat signal? Right.
What?
That's a nod to the '60s Batman end credits title tag.
Oh, where it's just like
It's the bat signal. That's like it's not like green and blue. It's a pencil drawing. But that's
oh, that's cool. Okay.
yeah. So that's like the end of any episode of '60s Batman when they play the credits over like the bat signal over Gotham because they never had the budget to always do the bat signal.
I see.
But yeah, so that's what he's drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a cool.
Yep. But if they do a season 3, they're absolutely going to have the bat signal at that point. They got to.
They serve Dracula, and have it be the end of the third season.
What?
No. So serve Dracula. It's a term where it's like an element of a character. You like spend an entire season to arrive at that element. Just like the example is like Daredevil doesn't have his classic red outfit until the end of season 1 of Netflix Daredevil. So in this, like, you build up to the bat signal and then the third season or whatever.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So for a third season and beyond, depending upon like how successful or how, like what's the worthwhile, what would you like to see introduced in this show movie? Like in terms of characters, villains, plots,
Oh boy. God. Let's see. Well, again, Eraser for one, but we already kind of did that, so probably not. God. I mean, again, the obscure Batman villains seem to be like they'd be fun ones to kind of legitimize and do kind of a neat take on them. With like, for example, I mean, it's always been talked up. If they could somehow legitimize Egghead, like Egghead or Crazy Quilt or one of those. But I imagine Catwoman has to come back at some point so they can do something with her. So that would make sense.
I think in terms of villains, like the Calculator, Clock King.
Clock King's good, but remember Clock King. Well, then again, we also had Kevin Smith's villain. We had Onomatopoeia, who was technically a Green Arrow villain.
Yeah. Also, Film Freak, I think would be a very cool villain to use, especially if you were to pair them with like imagine like the show's version of Baby Doll, like with Film Freak, kind of that exploitation. Like you could do basically like a Judy Garland riff.
Oh, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, look, part of me, obviously, Ra's al Ghul would be a step. Like, I think Ra's al Ghul is something I could see set up, but we would not.
You would have to be the one fantastical episode.
That I'm saying with the supernatural. If we do like the one supernatural thing, I imagine we could do a setup for Ra's al Ghul and have Talia in there, maybe. But maybe Ra's is like kind of the Eastern element of
Yeah, Court of Owls, I think, is very much like
Dead Man. If you do a supernatural one.
Yeah. A Black Mask, I think is a pretty easy. I'm surprised he hasn't been.
What I'm saying, Black Mask might have looked at it as too easy, but then it's like, well, but people want to expect the bigger names before we get the Black Mask, so
Yeah. Oh, the ventriloquist would be
that one I would like to see. Ventriloquist to me,
I would like if like the ventriloquist you have him be like a children's show's entertainer, and then he starts up with one doll and then transitions like over the course of an episode or two to like the Scarface dummy.
Yeah.
Like maybe have his show, maybe like he gets in with the mob because like he has gambling debts, or like the show is funded by the mob, something along those
lines. Know what they should do? Okay, is in lieu of the Riddler, okay, because that ship sailed. Mm-hmm. We make Cluemaster our traditional Riddler.
Yeah. That's I mean, it makes sense. Like he's leaving clues or whatever. Do you think they could have like Stephanie Brown be introduced in the show?
Well, she already has been.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Maybe.
So I don't know if we could in theory bring her back, and maybe he's the abandoner, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, look, Cluemaster is our Riddler archetype. I think that's one I would really co-sign because it's a way of doing that without
Oh, how do you feel about Anarchy? That I think would be an interesting character.
Anarchy is interesting, but the last time I've seen Anarchy, he was basically our Joker villain. So I don't know.
No, I think like have Anarchy be like this very V for Vendetta, political anarchist kind of a deal. Maybe you can have him be like in a plot line where like he, leads a revolution, uprising or whatever, and then like Wayne and like Bruce Wayne is like one of the targets of the rich and all that stuff. Professor Pig would be a cool one.
There you go, Professor Pig. That's a solid one.
Yeah. Who else? I'm just trying to think. There's like a lot
So it's
of.
just the idea of like, what if we took the modern Batman villains and we kind of found a way to retrofit them, and kind of like if we had them then versus when we eventually got them. Ventriloquist, for example, is a classic Batman villain that we got in the '90s. So we could put him back, and
Yeah, I think like what could you do with Hush that it wouldn't just be
I'd
direct?
like to see Humpty Dumpty, but
King Tut would be. Oh,
well, we already did King Tut.
oh, we did. Oh, we did. Maxi Zeus would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, because you do it. You could maybe have him be like Mad Monk, where it's all a facade or whatever, or like he could be like a like the supernatural, like legit, like he's actually maybe he's not Zeus, but he has some like connection to like the Greek pantheon or whatever. Uh, yeah, that'd be. I
Well, it
think
feels like we have to steer away from the mob a little bit. That's kind of what it feels like, just given the whole like long Halloween ish kind of thing we're doing. Bane feels maybe of down the line, but I don't think we want to jump into Bane next. The King Condiment King, it just always baffles me because the Condiment King is every time people say Condiment King, they keep forgetting that he's a parody of a villain. He's not actually a villain.
what
But
about
we've retroactively made him a villain.
what about Kite Man?
Kite Man, absolutely. Honestly, here's something. Here's what would really impress me if we did the full, because James Tucker's involved. If we did the full-on Plastic Man thing, the Neil O'Brien
Mm-hmm.
with Kite Man. Kite
I
Man is
feel
like,
I feel like it would be done in a more like horror.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be. Oh, I guess beyond just villains, like, do you think the Creeper could fit in this universe?
Well, we have Jack Ryder has been established in this universe,
Yeah, but
so
do you think
yeah.
yeah. I mean, with we have Renee Montoya, do you think the question could fit in a show like this?
That is a question. Well, that is the question. I wonder if do you think in lieu of the Vic Sage, we just have Montoya become the question? Is like, well, she's already detective, so in theory, yeah, we could just go full on question with her at some point.
Yeah, maybe. Do
Yeah.
you think that? Imagine you had Kate Kane Batwoman. Specifically the
No, Kate, no Batwoman, no.
Well, hold on. What's your issue with Kate Kane? I
I
mean,
hate Kate Kane Well, wait, hold a second. Wait, you don't mean? Okay, wait. Do you mean the old school one, the yellow and the red?
no, the modern one.
No, I hate the modern. No, not Kate Kane. No.
What's wrong with her?
Look, okay, look, the character is not okay. Batwoman is an interesting character on her own, but every time we tie her in the Batman, it's disastrous.
No, don't have her tied. Don't have her be like related to Bruce Wayne.
That's what I'm saying. If she's related to Batman, I don't want her. If she's not related to Batman,
No, because when she was introduced in like when she had her Greg Rucka, J.H. Williams III, she had no relation to Bruce
yeah,
Wayne.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah. Have her be someone that like was literally saved by Batman from a mugging. Have her be
Here's the problem with that, though. I'll co-sign that, but one issue.
Okay.
Do we do Batgirl with with Barbara Gordon? Because we've kind of we're kind of setting that up here and there. Do we pay that off?
I feel like this portion of Barbara Gordon doesn't fit as a costume vigilante.
I don't know. She's kind of action ready.
I think it's more likely for one of the like I could see Stephanie Brown becoming like this show a version of Batgirl.
Do you think Carrie Kelly becomes Robin?
No, I think she would be more likely to just be. I think Carrie Kelly could just be Batgirl to this Batman, or maybe she's like the psychic to this show's Catwoman. But yeah, I think like outside of just characters, I'm thinking like in terms of plot lines, like what would be? Could you see? I could see like say the Black Mirror or any sort of the mystery stories like for that are popular in Batman like done in the show. Strange apparition. Well, you can't do like Hugo Strange is just dead, so you can't really do anything.
I mean, overall, like honestly, what I'd kind of like to see is like I'd like to incorporate elements of '60s Batman. Like if we shifted a little bit from the pulp to a little bit of like legitimized camp. I kind of like that direction. like broad spectrum. I'm not,
Yeah, just like do like the mature. Yeah, I get what you mean.
like if we depend on how long we go on for, perhaps we shifted like the decades, kind of like we have TV in season 2, so we're getting a little out of the 40s into the 50s, and maybe by proxy we're teasing the 60s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I would think about it, it's like with all the characters we talk about, like maybe they could be introduced in like a season or two, but maybe like at a certain point they might just because I had to think about like what else could he like bring into the show like characters or plot wise.
Do you? Oh, here's a question: Do we hit Gotham with No Man's Land? Do we hit him with a big earthquake?
Hmm. I feel like that was already since it was done in the Harley Quinn show. I feel like they would do any do this. Honestly, I could see them doing that. The story before No Man's like Contagion, where like Razor Ghoul or whatever villain like releases like a virus.
Oh, we already kind of did that with the Joker Venom.
Yeah, but like I think it's something where it's like hospitals are being filled up, and like maybe you can have Leslie Tompkins, be show up in that capacity. Like she heads up like the trauma response, or like she's try to make sure people's lives are saved, and partners up with Batman in that respect. I kind of would be curious if they could do like Harold, the mute deaf mechanic.
Now there's an idea.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
maybe have him be like a henchman, or like he's being like taken advantage of by a Batman villain. Batman saves him and gives him room and board, and for his services, like Harold like does mechanical work with the Batmobile, and he's like gets lessons or whatever, or has company with Alfred. That I think would work.
All right. Okay, I think we're going to be here all day if we just speculate on where this
Yeah,
show will go. So I want to thank the folks for tuning in, because we had Jacob running point for us in the comments, and we had Sonia Pantoja show up for a bit, and then Little Blue. So folks, we spoiled the heck out of this season. I think we had a good time doing so, and we'll. There's other stuff that's going to be talked about. I don't know with whom yet, but we'll be covering My Adventures with Superman season 3 at some juncture, and there's there's other stuff on the horizon. Lanterns we are going to be covering Lanterns. It should be coming up this week, so there's that as well. So look forward to DC stuff on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyway, folks, so that about does it. See you next time, and remember, crime doesn't pay.
It has an end.